Hi.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Now let's go. Okay, I think we can start then. Meeting is called to order. The sunshine law notice, if you would.
This is a regular meeting of the Environmental Commission of the Borough of Fairhaven. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. The meeting is being held in person and through the Zoom meeting platform being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 River Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this regular meeting on June 8, 2022 is available by call and phone number or through Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until it is time for questions, comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question or comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. I might just add also it's 3-minute limit. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Star Ledger on January 28, 2022, posted on the Borough website and the bulletin board in the municipal building and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice have been given, the Environmental Commission Secretary is directed to include this statement in the minutes of this meeting.
Thank you very much, Brian. Christie, if you could do the roll call.
Michael DiMichelli. Here. Kelly Flanagan. Here. Suzanne McCabe.
Here.
Jesse Murray.
Here.
Brian Olson. He said he would be late. Jonathan Peters.
Here.
Brian Rice.
Here.
Gary Patterson. Absent. Ralph Windrum.
Present.
And Councilwoman Cole. You have a quorum.
Excellent. Very fine. Okay, given a roll call, then we need to get an approval of the May minutes. Is there a approval? Okay, a second. I have a second. Anybody not in favor? Anybody abstaining? It's approved unanimously by deduction. A few comments I'd like to make. To start with, we're not going to have an August meeting. Okay, that will be our vacation meeting this year, so month of August. Now, is there anybody who would be crying for July instead of August? John, you'll be here for either one, right?
I could be here for August, I believe. July, I don't know. I'm on, what day is it going to be, Ralph?
It's the first.
Second
Wednesday in August.
I believe that's the 10th. Would be off.
John, you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm around on the 10th.
Okay. And July,
July would be the third.
fine. We'll leave it then.
Yeah, we'll take August.
We try to give
August off.
you an opportunity to build your roll call.
So are we doing August?
July, I'm around. August, I'm probably around too.
Okay.
So August, we're taking off.
August, we're taking off. That takes care of that. Okay, I wanted you to know that the council has passed the bamboo ordinance, and that has made quite a number, I discovered, of people in town happy. I didn't realize we had as much bamboo as we have in town. And the bamboo ordinance basically says, if you have bamboo on your property, keep it iron bound, keep it away from 10 feet of your border, and that's it. Perfectly reasonable way of doing it. It will give all of them a good chance to get correction of the problems they've got. And I've seen some with a bamboo crawling under property line fences and everything else.
A minor update, if I may, the council had it on the agenda to introduce it. There was a comment having to do with the definition of natives or non-natives. So there's a little housekeeping, a little bit of homework still happening.
A recommendation, simply remove the native or non-native, it doesn't matter.
There you go.
Any bamboo is bamboo.
So we're gonna tweak a little bit of the wording and then it'll be on the agenda for introduction.
Okay, I thought that I read the ordinance
You did.
and I thought that the ordinance was already approved and it's not, you're telling me.
It was not introduced because of this observation about the language. Unfortunately, I agree. However, the cleanup is not that significant, and it's a matter of just cleaning it up, and it'll come back to the council agenda for introduction.
Tracy, I'm gonna leave it to you to make sure it happens.
I
So,
think there's broad support. I know there is.
so one quick question, it's more than just bamboo, it's just that's your calling it that.
No, it's this just was bamboo, right?
Oh, it's
That's all I
bamboo, Japanese knotweed, tree of heaven.
So it's more than just bamboo.
Okay,
Correct.
had that added in.
It's the big
Correct.
invasive.
Right, the major invasive
Yeah,
species.
major.
Good. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Very good, Tracy, thank you. Now, we're gonna hear about composting, so I'll wait for discussion later on that one. I do want to hear about the stickers and anything I can do to
Yes.
release them.
Are we following the?
No, we're not yet following, we will get into the agenda. I
Okay.
just had a few comments I want to make, so I want some emphasis on that. If it's not going anywhere, I'll help, Tracy will help you tomorrow.
We were all ready to go order the stickers. We have the green light with the funds. It's not a funding issue. It's simply a logistical, how we want this sticker. Do we want it included with the Fairhaven seal, like the Fairhaven logo,
Mhm.
or not? And the problem was, we said, sure, let's do the Fairhaven logo on one side, but they didn't have the original version of it and the format that it's needed to print. They only had a PDF copy. They didn't have the vector. So we are working on redoing that logo, but there hasn't been follow-up from the borough to the designer in a month. So we're following it up.
Well,
Can I
that's
just add
fine.
something? Do we really care about the logo?
That's what I'm
Just
saying.
get it
If we don't want a
out.
logo,
It's
we
been
just
5
say,
years.
help Fairhaven Recycle, we could
It's
just
been-
go ahead.
It's
with
been
it.
5 years, forget about the logo.
But-
It's my vote,
Which is fine.
let's just get them done, please.
Is Danny comfortable doing a couple more tweaks?
She did, and I was texting with her earlier today, and she just said, she had sent me the same ones, the blue and the black version, and she said, nobody had gotten her back from that initial email, which was kind of, she's like, I'm here to help, I just haven't gotten,
Brian's right, but enough noise has been made that I think we should, if it works
Sure.
in
No,
a
I
day
get
or two.
Now, and then here's the other thing though, if we were to get them, we can mail them out. We already missed some of these big events where people would be, like Love Where You Live Day and some other thing. So if we were to get them, we could also probably include them in the borough calendar mail out, which is where everybody goes, everyone gets one. I think that's in,
Well,
The calendar goes directly from the printer, so that's
so
actually not an
we already have
option,
the
but
Boy
the
Scouts ready
tax.
and willing and able to do it.
Good,
The Scouts in general.
sure.
so
They're ready.
Could I just hear what Christie was saying?
let's give a
One
very
mailing
good shot
that would
at
be in
getting
the
it
fall
sent.
is the tax.
Oh, tax.
Every resident gets their.
And that's around
tax
when,
bill.
Chrissy?
I think we did it it's definitely in the fall, maybe October, November. I could check with
Okay.
the
So,
tax assessor office.
Yeah, again, if you can get them printed, the Scouts are ready to go.
okay.
But it depends on the
Okay.
Would they
size,
just hand
like
them
the
out
tax
at door to
center
door?
is just.
Yeah.
size.
That's wonderful.
So I don't
Yeah.
know what you
Yeah.
have.
That would, and
This
that
might
would-
be size.
and I can get others too that need volunteer hours from
Sure.
Master. or-
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll get back to the stickers, but the word is, if we can't use it, and can't get it quickly, we're gonna go with it anyway. I want to go quickly.
Sure, we'll get
And before you stop it, I will, enter the-
it. Sure.
but I'm sure Tracy will be on top of it, so.
Christie
Okay,
will follow.
now let me just see if I can see if there's anything else here. No, I think that's all I want to say at the beginning, so let's move on to the agenda. And the first item on the agenda then is we approve the minutes, so the first item on the agenda is the
McCarter Pond.
Carter Pond. I think I'm pleased with the outcome of McCarter Pond. That and I'd like to hear anything that's up to date on it. But I think that we're gonna be moving ahead and taking the money out of the $650,000, right, Tracy?
The 600, we don't have all of the 600 right now, it's coming in chunks, but it's money that is not tax dollars, well, it's not our local tax dollars, so it's not in our budget in that form. And it's also not gonna be bonded, so there's not gonna be interest on this major maintenance.
Philosophically,
And it's a quicker funding mechanism.
that's, we hope
It is
so.
available.
The only holdup that I've seen in corresponding with Teresa is that what needs to be done now, which I couldn't get a straight answer, to go out and get the bids to do that. Have you?
So the
gotten
steps
update?
that I understand are, we have to move the money, which is there's a legal step. You have to take a council meeting, it's just moving it. And then there is the need to create the bid specs. I pulled the Avakian report from July 2017, which is a 6-page summary. It appears to be similar to what would constitute bid specs. But given that it's from 2017, and I haven't spoken to anyone about this, but this, if I were gonna put the specs out, I'd probably want someone to come out and look at it, just in case this needed updating. And then we put it out to bid. If there is more to this, then I will explore it with Teresa and find out, but I don't believe there is.
No, there hasn't been over the 10 years or so that we've been talking about it. That was always.
Is it your
process.
understanding that we do need a professional prepare the bid specs?
Correct.
And I would, hopefully, we can do that. I would think we'd want to do that with Avakian, since there is an established
trail.
pattern,
Mhm.
yeah. And that we could direct, at the council meeting, direct Teresa to execute that work, expeditiously, and then put it out to bid.
Yeah, there's 2 companies that do it, so they probably get it turned around pretty quick.
So,
Yeah,
so,
And from now on, I hope the council, Tracy, can have a message that this is a maintenance action. I agree with you that we shouldn't be paying interest on maintenance and annual
Right.
sorts of things. But more importantly than that, 2 years from now, we need to make sure that the problem is not reoccurring and take proper action.
correct.
And every point from that point on.
Will the aerators do the job?
They will help, not the aerators that are there now, but Teresa, and I think I forwarded it to you as well, that I have the specs on the aerators that they use, their fountain / aerators that they use at Pomfrey Farm. That will help to keep the water moving and aerated. But we don't know exactly a timeline when this would have to be, revisited and redone. I would imagine it's gonna be longer than we think. But until we do it, and I'm sure in interviewing the 2, or maybe there's more entities that are tasked to do it, will give us some feedback on that too,
Okay,
on how, what we can expect in terms of, maintenance and how often to do it.
okay. So let's not lose track of that. If I may, since you're not gonna have an August meeting, and I'm encouraging all the commissions locally to put budget discussions, to start discussions for your budget in August, but a lot of people take an August recess, so maybe we could put it in your July, this agenda,
Good.
and that will capture your thoughts, begin to capture your thoughts about what sort of maintenance or budget you might need for updating an ERI, for example, or just to begin to talk about those. It'll take a few meetings, but
So, it would be budget. I believe off the top of my head, they're around $6,000 a piece for the, and that's on the high side.
maybe
It
clean
is,
communities.
what's that?
Maybe clean communities for the areas? That would reach.
The what?
The Clean Communities Grant.
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is on public record that I volunteered to buy one if the town buys the other.
Okay,
And the installation between 4 and 6 grand, we took about 5. And then the installation and everything would have to be done by the town, but, you know, they're electrician, but it's, the electricity is already there at the pole for the aerators that are there now. It
Okay,
would just have to be, they would have to run the 220 leg instead of the 110 that's there now. That's easy to do.
okay.
Yeah, so it's, the infrastructure is there to do it.
I would ask that that be discussed and sort of expanded on and start in July.
I'll
and
get the
that way
update. Yeah, I'll get the
carry
update.
it. Okay,
I'll get the updated quotes from the,
Except for rec fields, my feeling, my instinct is we don't put enough into maintenance of our assets in town, such as the entrance park to Fairhaven on River Road,
Mhm.
and several others.
That one is all,
Yeah.
It's a
I just want to
staging
add one more
area.
thing. The weed is going to be a problem. It already is. We did the fishing derby the other day. I went down and made a guest appearance. My son was volunteering. And although the fish are very healthy, the weed is growing already. So you're gonna get the calls because we're on the EC and, you know, why is it all weed? I thought we passed this thing. So we haven't done that yet. So the weed is already growing because of the seasonality of it. So just a heads up.
Okay, I think we can check off Carter Pond then. We have the appropriate follow-up on it. Item B on the agenda is the
Green tea.
Green Team and Sustainable Jersey.
Yes.
Congratulations, first of all,
Thank you.
an enormous, yeah.
Team effort. This was it was a big month. This last month has been very busy. We'll start just with the Sustainable Jersey application. So we got that completed with a total of 280 points for the first round. The good thing is, once we hear back from them on our first renditions and revisions, we can still submit even more additional points as well for our August deadline as well.
Now, how many do we need, if the 280 holds, how many more do we need for silver?
350.
350.
But I do think it's within reach, because there are
Yeah.
still some big things that, like, for instance, fleet inventory that we're close to. That would be an extra 20 points. And then there's some other things.
So we should be working on it as if
We
we
are.
were going to get it.
Yes, so we are having a green team meeting next week. We are going to talk about, okay, what still we need to loose ends and remains, you know, in order to keep going and moving momentum. It might be 290. We were at,
Either
to the
way.
to the midnight hour,
Yeah.
filling it in, but we got it in and it was
That's
great, which was
fabulous.
fantastic. And there's a lot, and thank you to Christy. She was fantastic. She helped out with a lot of the
Thank you very
application
much.
submissions and was able to get from like the zoning board and the planning board. Everybody helped out all around. Jesse did some great stuff too as well and how. So we and Tracy, and it was just a very well team effort. And what is nice is that the town's actually doing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's more of trying to reach,
Document
hunt
it and all
people
that.
down and saying, where is this information? I just need to document it. We're already doing this great stuff. We just need to kind of document it and put that on paper. So it could be silver, could be within reach. So
Great.
we'll keep you posted on that. We've also had a tremendously successful first annual Love Where You Live Day.
It was nice.
Wasn't it
It was
nice?
really nice.
It was a very good, feel-good community
Yes,
event.
Yeah.
We had great volunteers that came from all the commissions. I mean, you were there too, and we had, I have to give kudos to Michael and to Robin and to the whole green team that
Stephanie,
organized
too,
that. Stephanie, of course. It was such a great event, and it really highlighted one of our town assets, which is Bicentennial Hall. We got a lot of great interest into that place, and so we're hoping we can work with the Historic Commission as well and work to preserve that. Do you wanna talk a little bit more?
You've seen it. It's the wood is dry rotting.
Yeah,
There's
Very
carpenter
bad.
bees,
Yeah.
there's
Stephanie brought that up in the council meeting. the other
there's a
day.
lot,
I know.
and we're trying, I mean,
It's good.
Wrap our arms around it.
we, if we can, fundraise for it, because it's just such a, it's a piece of history, that's unique to our town.
And
So
one of our vendors who made some money, they're donating it to Bicentennial Hall, right? Is that what we decided?
For the children,
The Dream Kids.
the Dream Kids.
Yeah, so they're actually donating some money towards Bicentennial Hall,
Well, that's
which
great.
is
Yeah.
really nice. And so it was everything we kind of wanted it to be. It happened. And like there was a woman there at the end that Tracy and I were talking to who was like 7th generation Fairhaven, and she's like, it just feels so good with all the kids and the dogs, and so she's like, it feels so, I don't know, like community. Which is what we wanted.
It really was.
And like everyone was talking, like all the different commissions and committees, like it just was good,
Yeah.
solid,
Yeah.
wholesome fun.
Pat Drummond was in 7th heaven.
She was, that Drummond was,
It
that was
really
great. There was some
good.
beautiful archives that she had. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
fantastic about the town.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So next year we'll do even more.
Yeah.
And I won't book a trip that day. I was in and out and all over. So real quick on Big Hall. Hopefully it is dry rot and it's not termites. Do we have an exterminator that we work with in town that could go look at it? Because that would be probably something that should be looked at as preventative maintenance. And if it's termites and
It's definitely
Carpenter
carpenter
bees.
bees for
Definitely
sure.
then we want to have that looked at before they eat the building and it
I'll
falls
check with
down.
Nick.
Yeah.
Well, the people who are sitting right where the bees were could really watch them do their
Yeah,
work.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And it's probably, it could be carpenter ants also and
Yeah.
and or termites.
I walked around the outside
May I just
and
suggest
knowing dry
copy
rot.
Pat Fairhaven
Drummond.
story?
Most of the
Pat
pieces
also
I could
copied
reach
their
were dry
story.
rot.
We'll see.
You may be
There's
right
a
about everything
Yeah.
else.
If there's any.
Right.
Every single one.
So, good,
I'll see
that's
what
cool.
happens.
Yeah, it was really good. We had a great spread in the 2 River Times.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, did you see that?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
demo teacher with all his photos.
Was,
We also got, we have a video,
Yes.
part of our Love Where You Live Day. We had somebody saying, why do you love Fairhaven? And they interviewed kids, adults, all different people. And she put it all into a video. So we're just working on release forms for the kids, but we're gonna put that up, why you love
Yeah,
where
put
you
it on
live.
our website.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really cute.
That's cool.
It was great, and there were great responses from kids and, adults and everything. It was fantastic. Yeah, and then, of course, we had a recycled art project where we had the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and other groups collect bottle caps from the beach, because that is the second most polluted, item that you find on the beach. And they made a mural that says, keep the sea plastic free. And it's hanging right up right
Yeah,
now
check it out on
You
the-
can
on
see
Borough
it.
Hall.
We
beautiful.
put it against the window, so if you're just even walking by, you can see.
Right.
It's like
So
right up
as you
against the
walk,
window.
right. And so it was at the Eco Fest this past week. So we
Right
also,
front and center, like under their big sign.
under the big gazebo at Clean Ocean Action. So they put it right up there. So we were also at Eco Fest this past week. We had a great table that Stephanie and Bonnie and Spirit, I wasn't able to make it, but it
It was
was
a good
more trees, please. All about bringing in more trees and what's the importance of it. And so that was great.
And the Borax thing. made
And the
appear
Borax
again,
thing.
appearance again, so that was
Yeah.
a hit.
Yeah, so,
That's getting around too.
yeah, so it's been a lot of different events coming up. But yeah, the bottle cap mural is right here, gonna hang out in Borough Hall for a bit, but we also might pass it around town, even Canyon Pass, if they'd love to put it up in their place for a little bit too, so it could be kind of like a roving art gallery. Other updates, I know maybe we'll wait for the anti-burn and stuff as another section, but I think that's it. We'll keep you posted on, the continuation of the Sustainable Jersey application.
Okay,
Is,
and the keeper of our Navasink River, Brian,
I'm sorry.
you're doing a good job.
Hold on,
It's
Ralph.
still, oh, I'm
one
sorry.
sec, yeah,
Do you have a date in August that's due?
it is the end of August, I want to say August, like the
So it'll
last,
be likely after the meeting,
yes.
August.
I can.
Okay,
find
no,
out
that's
for
fine.
you.
I'm just curious if you had an idea.
And then also another question in terms of Sustainable Jersey, is anybody going to the Sustainable Jersey Summit at Bell Works?
I did not
and
get any.
I know,
registrations.
I'm
would
going
like
to email you back about that, because I would like to.
I'm trying to go. I think I'm gonna go if that's possible.
attend, yeah.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to bring it up to everyone's attention to
I'm
it
gonna be at a
too, if
board
anybody
meeting in
wanted
New
to,
York that day, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean,
I
the
gotta
cost
get
is
my office
$38, so
Yeah. What's the date again?
it's Friday, the 24th. It's
Oh.
all
So-
day at Bellworks.
Okay, so, I have a question about the, yeah. Could people, so I know there's an entrance fee,
Yes.
right? If anybody from the green team would like to go, would we be willing to pay for their entrance fee as well?
Sure,
Okay.
yes,
Sure.
sure. I can sign off on
I
that.
can't,
Okay,
yeah, I'm on my floating office.
Sure.
Friday.
I will check with the CFO on the timing, because that's another purchase order type thing for
Okay.
registration. So
Okay.
I'll give you like a date, like, so you can forward it to the green team. Let me know by exact date to process this.
sure, okay.
I definitely want to go, so.
By the way, for expenses like that,
Right,
all you do is fill out a form, which Allison or Betty Ann give you. I sign it, goes usually to Teresa, that's it.
okay,
We haven't done much of it, but I'm perfectly willing, we should do it.
great.
I'll touch base with you.
Thank you, Shar, Kristen.
August 28th for the second round.
Thank you.
Your presence and keeping the minutes so well is really adding to the effectiveness of.
Thank you.
Commission.
Thank you.
And
She gets paid.
we're very pleased to have you with us.
Thank you.
Navigate
Okay,
River.
Navigate River.
So, the river is, as everybody knows, or may not know, is that it was downgraded. There was a big white paper written in 16 and then prompted me to kind of get off my butt and do something. And so we are looking at a possible upgrade back to restricted status from a hard close. And what does that mean? It's all revolves around clams. And so if we can get the geometric mean on 2 stations, we'll get that upgrade. So we're pretty close to it. There
And
was
what's the
one-
limits geographically of that?
So to give you an idea, it's 565 acres. And it spans from basically the Oceanic Bridge west to Lewis Point, call it. That was the one, that was the area that was downgraded, a little bit further west. West of that will probably, I mean, that's our intent is to have that open, but that hasn't been open since I've been. on the river. So, but that's the next hurdle to tackle, which if we stay on track, we'll be able to do that as well. So we are making great strides. And it's been a great, collaboration with the DEP, with the various towns. I know you probably noticed Broad Street has been a huge project. Red Bank knows they're kind of always been the smoking gun. They finally admitted it because the administration changed a little bit. And so they have fixed a lot of the infrastructure, found a lot of illicit connections, so on and so forth. That was, going into the river.
Right, they also identified a user who was throwing dog waste, right, repeatedly.
Well, yeah, so the second part of that, and this is how fragile the ecosystem is when it comes to especially the river. There was a report, there was a report from someone in Red Bank that they witnessed a person, actually a hired person to dog walker, throwing the dog waste. They would pick it up, put it in the bags and throw it in the leaf piles or brush piles or whatever on the side of the street. And of course, that will end up in the storm sewer. So they were able to get a hold of the office. They were talking to the assistant and apparently the owner was there. And he interjected with the assistant to Cliff, who was one of the administrators. Said, no, we were told by Borough, by DPW 20 years ago, that's what we should do with it. And he flipped. He ran out of his office. And flipped. And basically, and this is, accountability. He basically said, if I see another bag of dog waste, I don't care what color the bag is. I don't care if it wasn't yours, you're getting a ticket for just blatant. And that's how easy this can be. If somebody sees it, report it, say something. So all of a sudden, you know, we're getting an upgrade because of all those things. And I was gonna say little things, but they're not. They all add up to a really big toilet. And
We're
And
really
then-
down to one monitoring station, right, Brian? That's really just a little problematic. So that one station cleans up, right?
well, yeah, there's two, but yes, for the most part, right now, because the other stations are clean, we're ready, you know, we're pretty close to an upgrade. I can't say when, all I can say is that I'm very happy to report that we're, you know, definitely, as Ralph alluded to earlier in his comments, close to, you know, getting the river back to where it should be. And the big thing, like the bond is keeping diligent and vigilant to, you know, keep it that way. There is one station at the Oceanic Bridge somewhere. There's a pipe that is an issue at times, but again, that was a big scare, and it's 2 acres, square acres. It's like nothing. So,
Well,
but the great thing is the collaboration with the towns and the DEP, and it's only because of the 2 gentlemen at the DEP that really care. And we've become very close, and this will be a case study for the country, pretty much, at the end of the day.
well, very good, and keep the good work going. I'm sure you will. The next item on the agenda is the environmental resource inventory, and I put your name next to it, Jesse, is that appropriate?
Yes, I don't know if anybody has had the chance to take a look and kind of has any comments. I haven't heard anything like via email. I don't know if anyone had anything that they would like to include in here. I know there's things that just from my reading through, I know we definitely have to update a lot, and I think it's section 6, which has, yeah, everything with the stormwater management, utilities, existing and planned infrastructure. Like, I think that section is probably gonna be the biggest section to update, considering all the things that have been going on the past several years and all the updates. I don't know, and obviously I know we talked about too, adding a little bit about invasive species in here too. And the pocket parks. So I don't know if there's anything else that stood out to anyone that is missing that they would like to see in here. If you had a chance to take a look.
I had,
Um,
it was too full as is,
Yeah,
too much to work. I was afraid there was too much in it and too many things to work.
I don't think there's too much in it. I think there's items that can be added. I think I mean, the whole point is to have a nice, robust report. I don't want to be deleting anything out of here. I want to be adding to it.
Not even an expert.
More details.
I really think
I'm
this is
thinking
a
of the action,
foundational.
how do we work the issues? We have to be very selective, I think, in working those issues now, once we have the report.
But
So
having
given
the
this
report
is
is
an
good though, because we
inventory.
can pick
It's
up
a
any
blueprint.
issues at some point,
Yeah.
right?
True, if you're willing to slip a few of them to now and
Yeah.
get the ones done and get them done and then move on.
So
The inventory doesn't change what you have to fix, right?
Right, the inventory
You gotta
never
figure out which
changes.
way you're gonna do it.
It's the maintenance, right?
Yeah. But also like.
I think that this is a foundational document, this is a planning tool, this is the basis by which you do formulate recommendations, set action plans, put budget requests together. It's a catalog, and it's essential that it be kept up to date. I
Yes.
mean, it's really not that old. There are lots of things that can be included that are touched on in here that
Yeah.
can probably be expanded on.
Absolutely, the same line.
And I read through it, it's a phenomenal document. Just to have the basic stuff captured in one document is very helpful.
Mhm.
I think that the tree preservation ordinance, you know, once that gets in there, same thing with the invasives. We just passed the stormwater management regulations, somewhat updating. Anything that you end up doing with pollinators.
Yeah.
There's rain gardens.
The rain gardens, pollinator
touched
gardens.
on.
So there's been a
Yeah,
lot that's gone on in the past several
Yeah.
years that could be incorporated into this. And
Yeah.
then we have that as a foundation, so when anything new happens, we can just add on to that, but it's not gonna change.
No, what is the mechanism to do that? You just have to do it.
Just, yeah, it's matters, literally just, it's
Not just
update-
like-
yeah, but yeah, it matters just updating the report, so I think it's a matter of, just having the outline of where are our sections, who's interested in what, to help contribute to this. That's what we did
Well,
last
and-
time.
And it might be something you do need some authorship or some professional support for. This is, again, something you might want to consider opening for discussion in your July
Yeah, that's true.
meeting. If, you know, if for a few $1,000s, you're able to expand this and get something before the commission to sign off on and then send to the governing body. You know, I think you should explore that. You're all very busy and you give a lot of time, and I think it's wonderful that we're even with that we have this document at all, but updating it might, you know, you should consider it. And I would say, you're aware of Zoe, who's going for Eagle Scout, who's doing the trees in the 3rd Street connection to the fields, which is an invasive nightmare right now. Yeah, but when she's done, she's gonna have her red maples mapped and identified, and she'll provide species caliper, and, you know, that information can be brought to the environmental commission to be included in your ERI, or just captured on your webpage if you want, but it's, again, just making sure that stuff stays all in one
Yeah.
document.
I mean, honestly, it's stuff like that, and even just the information about the invasive species that was like written up, could be incorporated just as an attachment. I mean, they're written, there's people from town. It's, you know, it's just stating the facts. So it's not like it's an opinion piece added on. So I think it's all important information. And again, it's not stuff that's changing.
Right.
It's just adding to it.
Right.
And it'll help to inform future decisions too. So,
Is stormwater gonna be on here?
yes, stormwater's in here. That
Oh,
needs,
yeah.
that definitely, that piece needs to get expanded upon.
Yeah.
With the ordinance.
Yeah.
And even just adding in just like the rain gardens and whatnot too. Like there's definitely a lot that needs to be expanded on.
Yeah.
A lot of different sections.
And given that a lot of our outlets go right into the river, which is touched on in the ERI, we might want to understand, when we recently adopted the expanded regulations in stormwater management, there's a section that has to do with green streets. And I can't speak to it anymore because I don't have the particulars, but it seemed like green streets might be something you'd want to know about here, at least at the Environmental Commission. Oh, and Nick Krasinski made himself available to the Environmental Commission. Should you be, I know you've talked about preparing a white paper on stormwater management for the land use boards. And I asked him specifically, if he's at your disposal, should you choose to have it on your agenda, he'd be happy to come here and review the ordinance and or help you with the white paper.
Good, yeah, that would be with Gary and
Yeah.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, thank you.
It sounds like it's in good hands.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, if anyone, if you haven't reviewed it yet, if you want to take a look, and if there's anything that stands out to you at all, I can at least get like an outline together of just kind of like the major points of what we'd like to include. And then we can kind of take it from there. You know, we can discuss the budget. Maybe some of the sections I think are small enough where we could probably just add a couple sentences to it. But if there's more expansive, you know, that we want to add, we can discuss potentially hiring someone to do it, and I'd be happy to work with that person to oversee the updates. So,
I'd be happy to work on it also. I essentially authored the 2017 version.
I did.
Just fine.
I
Yes,
did.
you did.
I
Oh,
did.
17, oh, you did.
I did that
What was the one
one.
before? What was the one before?
I don't remember.
Long time ago.
We
You,
took,
you did the one before that, so
Yeah.
we collaboratively
One
have,
prior to 17.
done different versions, but yeah, no, we can work together.
so I'd be happy to,
Yeah, so yeah, if anyone
Do
wants
what I
just, you
can
know, if there's anything in particular you'd like to see in there, like, or expanded upon, just shoot me an email, I'll gather everyone's ideas together and put it in a nice outline, so.
That's great.
okay. Anything more? Okay. Alrighty, then, the next item on the agenda is residential stormwater management.
Table on that, and then we'll meet with Nick to maybe start the discussions, because we wanted to give it a year or so. But the adoption of the new,
There's no reason to wait on the
Ordinances.
discussion.
Yeah, you have to get at least pull on what paper besides that?
Yeah, that's what I said,
So
yeah.
we can at least, we can chat about that.
Yeah, I'll open it up discussion with Nick.
We need to
I
have
believe it was a
in
year in
discussion.
April.
There have been,
What's that, Kristen?
I believe it was a year in April.
Yeah, it was a year, okay.
there have been pictures of what you could put at individual storm outlets, storm drains, to improve the filtering of what goes into storm water and the like. But I think we have to agree on a philosophy before we go much further ahead. It's a sort of problem that you can't solve at each drain, at each sewer drain.
That's not true, I'll
Well,
review that on the
That's what
agenda.
I believe that's true, and we can debate that point.
Okay.
But there are just too many of them. They're gonna cost too much money. You
No,
can
no,
do
no.
it physically.
No, I think we're talking about two different things.
Oh.
The storm drains, the outfall pipes at the end of the street, there's 6 or 7.
That's right. No, I
Yes, to
wasn't
do it
talking-
at individual,
To do it at the individual.
no,
is
and then
not
you have,
gonna work.
no.
And then, as we discovered with the Hants Road storm sewer, contributions to that are coming from places like Red Bank and Tower Hill Church. They're all interconnected. So I think we ought to get a map of the storm sewer system.
Well, the catchment system goes beyond the borough because it's a county storm drain system. But what I hear you asking for, Ralph, is a map of,
Of the
catchment
interconnections of
area.
the storm
is
sewers.
that in the
I
ER?
thought we've seen it.
No, that's,
No,
that's,
but
I've seen one that includes Fairhaven storm sewers.
I think that's probably something that obviously should be added, but I don't think it was added last, I don't think it was in the
Okay.
previous one. There's a couple.
That's what
photos.
you're asking for, right?
Yeah, some years ago, I was
we have, the
surprised.
county has it.
Yeah, I'm trying
Yeah,
to,
we had it somewhere, but I'll talk about it when it's my turn, but I mean, the outfall pipes on the end of, if we start from west to east, is Grange, Gants, Baton Road, Fairhaven Road. There's another one, the Normandy. I dare say, and I'll go on a limb here, none of them come from Red Bank.
Well, I think that the Hants Road sewer down at Ridge Road has a feed into it from near Tower Hill Church, is what we found years ago.
Right, but again, I'm not gonna debate it, we can get, I'm sure
I'd like
Nick
to
has, I'm sure Nick has it in his office.
Richard, Nick, I would ask it, and the county.
Yeah, Nick will have it in his office where those lines run. But again, it's not. What do we do with that data? It doesn't really matter.
Well,
I think Ralph has a.
it does matter because the solution has to include all the inputs.
Which it has the output is what my solution is.
Well, Brian, if the outfalls are in Fairhaven, they'd be under our stormwater permit, wouldn't they? You know what I'm saying? I mean, the state has regulated stormwater outfall.
Correct, so the
So I mean,
outfall.
if something's coming into our system and we have some sheet flow areas, right? Like Hants doesn't have sewers. There's a lot of sheet flow actually, and then like Fourth Creek, right?
Well, that's a different, right, and that's a different, that's. a
Those aren't
different-
technically
that-
outfalls, but they.
Yes, the outfalls are the only thing we can really talk about, and that's agenda item H, so,
Okay, we'll wait till
get
that.
more into that, yeah,
We'll
let's,
wait till that
Talking
point.
about the catchment area broadly and whether or not there were upstream interventions possible. Where were you going with your thought?
well,
Right.
To me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I thought we were talking to Brian. Basically, if you've got some egregious contributions from upstream that you don't know about, you should know about them because it may be possible to take care of those kinds of things upstream. And you wouldn't do it. You have to see the problem. We have to get the facts.
So you're talking about the actual like grates that go into the sewer, like there are different
At
types
some
of
point,
grates.
look, what we're doing right now is putting in for about 100 or 150,000 in some cases. we're talking about putting in maybe one a year
Yes.
of the sewer filters, major sewer cistern basin, at close to the upstream portion of the sewer plant. And so we are right, yeah, storm
No,
sewer,
it's stormwater.
the
It's-
stormwater.
No sewer, it's.
No, storm.
Stormwater runoff.
The
right.
stormwater runoff, and we're actually putting in filters at various points, that's part of the plan.
But the county is,
Upstream.
The county
yes,
is.
County is.
right, so they,
Upstream.
because Fairhaven can't do it, because we can't
No.
maintain them. Then they're only as good as the maintenance.
That's correct too,
No,
and I think we have to see the whole program. Christie, you're right, Nick. You could check with Nick and maybe get me a copy.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Get me a copy of the stormwater system.
Yeah.
And the connections with Red Bank and anywhere else.
But basically, if somebody from Fairhaven drops a piece of trash in Red Bank, it ends up in the river somewhere along the line. Doesn't matter if it's Hants Road, Spring Street, whatever.
True enough.
So if there are connections to our stormwater management, our stormwater system from out of town, yeah, we need to know about that. This is the first that I've been aware of it. And if it's Hants Road, it skips green, which doesn't tend to make sense unless it's coming from. Ridge Road. But I think, because a portion of Fairhaven also goes to the Shrewsbury, so Rumson could be like, "Ooh," and they're not gonna dig up roads. We got enough
No,
digging
exactly.
to change and divert it, because Red Bank has one.
Right, but
line
I think
that's
it's just saying
tapped
like,
out.
if there are any like major problematic areas that you
Well, yes,
can
and
do
with-
some soft above ground.
But I can get
You
into
know,
that,
that can
yeah,
maybe
let me go,
help
we'll get
trickle
into H and I'll explain that part.
We probably ought to.
Because then it doesn't matter where it's coming.
Sure, it doesn't
Or
matter, where, but it just.
I don't
to
care
know
if Johnny in
some
Red Bank
things.
throws it in the street or Brian down the street in Fairhaven throws it in the street.
But I think it would be also a good idea to sample storm sewer. What's in the storm sewers at various
I already do, I
points.
have it, I'll give it, it's right
Do you
there.
have it at various
Well,
points?
that's all the data points that the state monitors already.
All
Why?
interior to the sewer system.
Well, they do, no, well, they do it at the outfall pipes at the river.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's the data that
But
we have.
you might find the sources of anything that's.
They're already doing that, Ralph, that's old news, we've been doing that for 5 years.
Internal to the sewer system.
If there's a big problem, they go upstream and they test it in the pipe.
Okay.
I'm 100% certain of that.
I didn't think they tested anything. but the
100%.
outfalls.
100%, no. If they find something in the outfall, they go upstream so they can find it.
Maybe.
That's how they-
Okay, but they don't say
It's-
it, they do it in response to finding something.
Do they actively pull manhole covers in the middle of streets?
Exactly.
No, not until there's an issue. Why would they?
You don't know what you don't know. That's.
Well, we do know because we know at the end of the pipe. If there's no problem at the end of the pipe, there's no problem in the middle of the pipe.
Well, I know that on Hants, there was a problem because it was.
Correct.
in my
And
backyard.
there was one on Spring, there was one on Mechanic and so on down the line. But that's how they found out where the sources were. They go upstream. So if I don't have a problem with this pipe, there's no sense going upstream.
Okay. Okay. I think.
And that has been done, and that's what continues to be done. No different than Middletown, if there's a problem on the bank, they look right away for a septic system.
So how's that data presented to?
You have it, it's on our site,
Well, I know what was identified in the maps.
that's what it is.
There must be
That's-
some, is there some raw data that is from those upstream checks? I'm wondering if the commission.
No, because all the state cares about is the final destination, the river.
I think that's where Ralph was wondering.
Understood, but
If it was an engineering problem, I'd want to know.
it's
what's
already fixed,
happening
but if it's
internally.
fixed, it's fixed, and there's nothing at the end of the pipe at that point, why can we, because it's continually monitored. If it happens again, then obviously there's another issue along that route,
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
well,
But all that data, I mean, that's the point of the whole study.
I'd like to see the sewer.
And if this data is already here.
It's
which would
here,
be
it's
great
on our
too,
website.
Which is great because there is, Bonnie just highlighted and reminded me that there is a Sustainable Jersey application or
Good
action.
points for that.
I was going to ask
The
that.
municipal water story. What is our
Yes.
municipal water
Yes.
story? Where does our water come from? What are some of the issues that, that deal with it? So and then we have a unique one too, because of all these 6 or 7 out, pipes that go directly out. But this is 20 or 25 points, not only just for a Sustainable Jersey action, but just to know and highlight.
Let's
and
get
see.
together and see
I
what you
think-
need and I'll get it.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Bonnie.
Yeah, thank you.
That was
Mike.
great for
Uh,
just bringing that, because this sounds exactly what we're
I
trying to
was gonna
figure
ask,
out.
is there
What is our
anything
water story?
That we can focus around the river or whatever, stormwater management, that because the state's testing the data, testing the sites, so we have that data to show that it's improving our stormwater run, is my point.
Which, yeah, and
Which
again,
has-
right,
yeah, and
which
that
tells a
fits
good
into
story
statistics.
as
Sure.
well, and as we can back it up with the data, and I think see where we're
Yeah.
going and
Yes.
headed.
I
think-
have all the data, we
Okay.
have all the data, and if we need more, I can get it.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a question that I have.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda then, that is to be followed up, the last one. The next item on the agenda is rain gardens. And you alluded to them before.
Mhm. Well, unfortunately, we did not get the grant, which stinks.
I know.
Yes.
It's a bummer.
But I think it's because the grant is more focused on open space.
Yeah.
And bringing new open space
Yeah.
into an already established, whereas this was on the school property and it wasn't like a new
Yeah.
designated open space, so.
So this was for the new plants to update the gardens?
Yeah.
This is for
Oh,
the
yeah.
sign, signage.
The
and
1500,
plants,
yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly for the sign, honestly.
Right.
We
Right.
know like with the plants, we could easily get that and donations and it's not a lot of money, but
Time out. Can you please, Christie or Tracy, see if there's any money left over from the original grant, please? And how we- I don't
What
know.
original
Did we have to
grant?
give it back
I thought we had to,
if we didn't use it?
I thought we had to give it back.
Because originally we had all the, other than the plants, the excavation was donated until we got the grant, and I told them, and they're like, well, you can pay us just for the expense, it wasn't, they didn't make any money. Because we wanted to use those funds, and I don't know,
Do you
if-
remember the year of the grant, the award?
pre-COVID, I know that,
Yeah.
was
You
my
were
kids still,
previously
I'm
awarded
trying to think if my
$1,500
kid was.
Inject grant
Um,
for the rain garden.
It was for
Noah.
Norwood, yeah. It was
For Norwood, I can look back at the data, I can,
it was
I wanna say,
When was it planted?
2017 or 18.
Yeah, I think it's one of those here.
I think it's one of those
And you
years.
don't think he spent all of it?
I-
Do you remember the amount?
I think it was 25 or 15,
And it was Anjac?
you and I did
It
it,
was
Rob.
probably
Yeah.
1,500 then.
Yeah, and we might have spent it, but it was just something popped in my, I don't know.
Okay.
And it's.
Teresa will know probably,
It was a pretty small amount.
it was, because we didn't,
And I don't think this is gonna distract us or deter us from
Oh, no,
going
no.
along with Knollwood, because,
right, and how much could a sign be?
I mean, $700 or $800. I
Right.
guess.
Yeah, we're still gonna go, we're still
Right.
gonna get
Yeah.
together.
Right.
There'll be another funding round also, and you could take steps to be prepared for that.
Sure, and
Yeah.
we need
And,
a little more.
And I spoke with the teachers there, it was decided that we would wait for fall.
Yeah,
To
we
plant.
we even discussed fall be better because, I mean, it's better to plant in the fall.
And there's nobody
anyway.
there to water,
Any of the
Yeah.
students there that can help out. with
Right.
it, Yeah.
there was two, we ran
So,
out.
so I think in the meantime, it's a matter of just kind of getting together and getting a list together of what we'd like there to be planted, so we're pretty much ready to go, so when fall comes, we can coordinate with the teachers and get a day on the schedule.
There's emails flying around, so I'll pull whoever. can-
Yeah,
Okay.
In terms of the other rain garden, are we thinking, I know with Nativity, there's that drainage area, but
Right.
we had talked about somehow planting some
I
other
just
trees
met-
on it.
Yeah.
Yes,
This last week, I just met with Nativity,
planted some plants right there.
Yeah.
Father Jim, and with John Hendricks and his wife, who are
Kathy,
Kathy,
Yes.
yeah, who are involved in that part of Nativity's interest. First of all, we're definitely going to, they're going to get the drain pipe that's there
okay,
cleaned out.
great.
And they'll probably do it with all the church volunteer help. I have my doubts. I tried sticking a long stick handle into it, and it's heavy mud all the way down that I could find. I didn't run the handle far enough to find the end of the mud.
Last time I was there, there was a hole in it, and it was mostly decomposed leaves when I pulled it out.
Well,
Because that's what's in front of the pipe.
that's what's in front of the pipe, right? But when you go in, there's unfortunately an awful lot of mud.
Yeah, I don't see how
And so hi there.
Hello, Mayor.
So,
Trying to bring you in.
I think-
Planting along the
right, I don't think it has anything to do with it.
No, so
Here's what
I
we
think it's
had,
like a.
but let me get back to it.
I
So,
thought it was decided that we would leave well enough alone because the water builds up and then actually filters it before it goes into the stormwater system, which is what we said.
what
Right.
they're gonna do is clean it out and hopefully get it done.
Well, that goes
Also-
against what the environmental commission had decided last year.
Well, that's what they wanna do. It's on their property.
It's only because, no, it's not really, but okay.
But also, they wanted to call Monmouth County up, and they were going to call Monmouth County up and see if they wouldn't maintain it.
But the thing is, that we talked about last time, you know, we didn't want it to be maintained, we want to plant the sides and
That's
we
it.
wanted to
And
just
leave it,
let it go, so the water's not flushing.
because the
It
water,
should be
right,
coming
and
down
that's,
slowly.
so here's the premise behind it. If you have material, organic material, it acts as a filter. Okay, and it filters nicely over a period of days when you have an inch of rain. I monitored it. It was the idea to leave it alone, let that filter, don't clean it out, because now you have sheet flow going right into it, right into the river with whatever else is coming off that part.
They simply weren't happy with having it filled.
Then they should have done something 10 years ago, Ralph.
Well, of course, but
You're not gonna be able to clean that pipe out without a machine.
well, that's.
Unless
probably
somebody's
true.
small enough to crawl up there and get it out like a
what-
gopher.
What they basically said is they would go to Monmouth County. The end of the meeting was they'd go to Monmouth County and see what they recommended and what they would do. And they're going to John and Tony and talk to him. They're also gonna widen the road there. The road will have a turning lane. And so the road will have an additional lane when it doesn't have one now. So it's gonna be, some construction work will be done on it in the next 2 years.
But
So
long
it's
story short,
probably,
we still want to plant the
Yeah, we
edges.
still
Yes.
wanna plant.
That's,
Right.
that was the whole,
That was the
yeah.
whole thing, just to
We want to
plant
plant the edges. and make
as
sure
a
it's not
pollinator
over.
slash.
Yeah.
green,
And I think
I
Kathy
one
is on
one
that.
voice,
Yeah, that's good.
one voice. What? Who wants to speak?
I'm just saying, I think we're all in agreement that planting just alongside that drainage basin.
That would be fun.
Yes, and I
That would
think
be
Kathy
fun.
Hendrickson too, who's also on the green team, that's
Right.
right there, she's all for it. And
Again, should be same thing fall, when you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about
Mhm.
watering,
Yeah.
but I think planting then.
But I think,
should be
yeah.
fall. So it doesn't matter planting.
so they have more volunteers.
Now, if you're gonna have construction in 2 years, you're not gonna want to put too much into it.
Sure.
Which is one of the things that came out. They may use the part of the 16-foot right of way they've got from the curb in
Okay.
to provide for.
Well, it's a matter of seeing if that particular drainage is gonna be within that right of way. So if it's not, then we should be able to plant it.
I think the entrance, at least the entrance to it would be, 16 feet from the curb. The right of way. A lane is gonna take 16 feet.
It's right there.
So I think it's pretty close.
Well, even just plant a little bit, I mean, for now.
Let's see what they find from Kathy finds from talking to Monmouth.
Okay, I'll find,
I don't-
I could happily follow up with her.
Okay, I went down there separately and took a poll down there to do what I said. And I was discouraged. I just don't think they're gonna easily get anything out of it
Okay.
without a rototiller of kinds.
No, you need a drill.
You need a drill, is right. Okay, then the next item on the list is invasive species.
Covered that already.
About that.
We talked about that. And anything more to say?
I don't think so.
Then we get to H.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I did have something on invasives. I was approached by So I should back up. Some of this was when Zoe came to the council meeting, the young Eagle Scout candidate who has the project in that 3rd Street corridor. And afterwards, there was some discussion amongst members of council about that area. The subject of invasives, that's a catalyst, I would say, that area being so bad has really sort of galvanized interest around making some serious headway, as the invasive issue is really only going to get worse if we don't take some action. And there was sort of a flurry of discussions around maybe we should all be joining forces, and that would be Shade Tree Commission, the Environmental Commission, the Fairhaven Fields Natural Area Advisory Committee. And so I'm here tonight to do what has already happened with the Fairhaven Natural Area folks and the Shade Tree Commission, which is everyone is pledging a person or two if there's interest to represent a coalition of folks who will aim to carry action and advance some sort of strategy for dealing with their invasiveness. So it will probably include ultimately a plan of some kind, because we know we have some existing invasive concerns. We also have some originators or causes. There are causes, perhaps brush grinding site has been indicated, has been reported. That's probably one of the sources for some of the airborne invasives that are self-perpetuating. So tonight, the ask is if there's someone on the Environmental Commission, if the commission agrees and likes the idea of a coalition and joining forces to really address invasives that on the municipal property, then if there's someone that would like to volunteer or perhaps you'd like to discuss the idea, Shade Tree has committed to someone, and I forget who, how am I forgetting?
McCabe, Chris McCabe.
Yes, thank you. And the Fairhaven Natural Area folks have also.
I think it's a great idea, but I am not volunteering.
Okay.
Why don't we put in the minutes a request in, you know, capital letters or
If somebody wants to
Anyone online?
volunteer.
requesting a volunteer?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Can we do
And I
that?
think the
It's a great
first
idea.
step is a get together, a meeting, and to come up with an action plan.
Good.
And will likely include identifying some funding sources, some of which Christie has already done some work on. I myself have done some research on some grants and how we could advance plans to really tackle it. There is a commitment from the governing body to pledge some dollars. The amount was not agreed on, but there is broad agreement to take some action and pledge dollars to begin to address invasives.
Great.
We can use that to leverage additional grant funds.
Good, awesome. Okay, that's fine. Okay, Brian, the next one is the one you talked about before.
Yeah, so, as Ralph alluded to, there were two gentlemen from the high school. A few years ago, they proposed that they were working on a project. I don't think it ever came to fruition, to actually put, for lack of a better term, in the marine side is a boom, which is just it's an absorbent barrier that would be around each storm drain, which doesn't make sense because there's hundreds of them. And some are ours in some of the counties. So the research that I've done, as well as Nick was doing it alongside, and I didn't know it at the time, and then we came together on it, so it was sent in our email. So it's called a StormX netting system. So basically it's a long net that would be banded to the end of the storm water outflow. We have it engineered, we have the drawings, we have everything. Don't have the funding, but we have the proposal from StormX, Stormwater, what is it? Stormwater Solutions, I think is the real name of their company. So, and at first, the idea was, again, like the rain guards at Norwood, was to put it somewhere where it's highly visible, which is obviously the Fairhaven Dock. No offense to Grange and Hands. But it would be right there and people would be like, wow, what is that? So it would have to be done in conjunction, in the town, could kick in some funding for it. It's not that expensive. I think it was $6,000 or something for the device.
4,200.
4,200. So yeah, so I was conservative. I proposed it to our fishing club, which is made up of a lot of guys in this area, and obviously have a great affinity for the river, and maybe we'll pony up half of it is my proposal to the club. So at that point, we need $2,100 to do it. But we'd also need the blessing, and that's why Nick is involved, to the town would have to maintain it. And it's easy to maintain there because they can back a truck right up to it. And lift it up and empty it. So this would, just like the test at the end, this would be catching everything at the end. And it's not to say that, okay, it's a free for all for kids in Red Bank and Fairhaven to throw stuff on the street, but it would catch all the solids that come out of those pipes.
What experience do we have with the maintenance that's already been installed in some places, hasn't it?
They, depends on, the area, right? I would imagine cities would be more,
Are we
They would have-
talking weekly?
don't know.
Oh,
If you could tell me how much goes into the river on a weekly basis, we could give you an idea, but I don't know.
I was wondering what
I don't know.
other people's experience
It
was.
depends on it depends on each borough, each town. So we would, my proposal is to do one in this area. At the end of Fairhaven Road, it can be it can be installed there. I can install it with my guys, or the town can install it. It's not a big installation thing. It's literally a big clamp that goes on the end with the net, which is in our packet. So I guess the ask is if we all are behind it, we would go to the borough and council, right, to see if we could have their blessing and go from there. I know that Nick is 100% behind it from the engineering standpoint, from the town, from that side of the town. So that was my idea to do this, as well as Nick's. So I'll leave
Sounds
it
like
at
a
that.
good
Questions?
idea, that we probably should try and probably try other ideas also, particularly as they become commercially available.
Well, this is commercially available.
I know
so
that,
to do
that's
it,
what
yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, and then see,
I think we ought to go ahead with it.
Brian, can you talk a little bit about what physically is the maintenance? Do they remove the net, dump it out?
take it off and dump it out.
Is it-
Mhm.
Dump all the stuff that it collects, like the trash.
Yeah.
Into a truck.
Mhm. It would go
And then
into it.
like the leaf debris, like, is it gonna,
It's gonna catch everything.
it's gonna catch
Organic and inorganic
organic and
material.
inorganic?
And
Yeah,
is there any special disposal requirements? I know there's certain disposal methods. that-
no, because it's solid, so it would go to the dump.
So it would go to the dump.
I mean, obviously, some stuff's gonna get through there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some,
Yeah,
like,
but
right,
yeah, so,
organic weight, like pet weight, like,
well, we don't want that is not in here anymore.
Right,
Took care of the.
not in a
bag.
bag, but.
It's in that, so you don't want that in a bag.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, is it gonna collect everything? No, it can't. You
Right.
can't make the net that fine,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna have it
Then you're gonna have it.
fill
backed
up and you're
out.
gonna have a situation that we have in Tibbet, right? It's just gonna back up with water and then back up our storm drain, so you can't, so.
And is it
um,
something with like, you need to hire somebody to clean it out, or is it something that our DPW
They
or
our DPW could do it.
your fishing guys could do it?
My
Or your
camp
or your
kids can go
camp.
down and do it.
I'm just, like at.
No, I think that, I mean, it needs to be monitored, which I will monitor it, and when it gets to a certain diameter of garbage in it.
Right, where there's not.
You don't wanna
enough
wait till
water.
it
You don't
fills
want the
up,
water
right? You don't
to
want 60
stop.
Well, that, you don't want 60 feet or however long this thing's going to be, filled with garbage, you're not gonna be able to move, we'll have to
Right.
bring one of our
A
boys to
barge,
the train
yeah, right.
at that point. So I would say that we would have to monitor it, and the town is going to have to agree to say, hey, when Rice or Nick, Nick is gonna monitor it as well. So look, we gotta get somebody down there to empty it. It's gotta be emptied. It's kind of like a baby's diaper. Can't
You
wait
said
around.
something
It'd
about
be a good
60
experience,
feet.
I think.
Yes, what?
You said something about 60 feet.
I don't know how long, does it say the length? It does,
That
right?
is 60 inches long.
Okay.
Yeah, so
We
it's
don't
5
have
feet.
anything extending that
I,
far.
right, it's 68, so it's 60 inches, so when
That's
that,
the
when that,
90 makes a lot.
I don't have the specs in front of me.
I have
Well,
the
that's
section, it's just
understand.
21 by 16, right?
Yeah, so it's,
It could be several hundred pounds, obviously, particularly. when-
so,
Like 2 feet, yeah,
yeah,
2 by like 1.5.
yeah, and we can dictate how long, it doesn't, they don't say, it's made
Right.
for each application. So we'd say, look, we're not prepared to have anything more than 48 inches. Or they say, and then they'll come back and say, well, 60 inches is the norm.
You figure the
I don't think
outfall
it's
is pretty
problem.
big anyway, so it's probably not gonna be much like longer than it is.
Well, it's only going in because this outfall pipe, you can see here when I took the pictures and sent it to them, there's a lip on it. We're trying to get to that lip because we only have about an inch or so of clearance between the pipe and the piling.
Mhm, mhm.
But
So-
you know, in anything that this is like the end stream, right, solution,
Right.
but I do think, obviously anything should be also coupled with other, like
100%,
education, right?
100%.
You know,
This
things
is-
away from the storage drain, make sure you clean.
This
up,
is
like-
one step from the eco coliform that we are tackling. This is now the solid side that Ralph has alluded to, going on his beach and picking up, filling up a garbage bag on a
So,
Sunday
right, so this
afternoon.
would help alleviate.
This would
some
help
of it,
alleviate
not
the
all of it,
solids.
not people who are
Yeah, if
just
we don't
talking
get it
about
here, if you don't get it here, it's going in the river. It's already in the system, right? It's going into the river.
It's in the
So
system, we're
This
This is
catching
the
it
last
before.
gap, this is the last stopgap.
That's correct.
And everything upstream will mean it will function longer without maintenance. But, obviously, this is the last stopgap.
Yes.
Mhm.
Not gonna get everything, but it's better than what's happening now, right?
Right now, we're not catching anything.
I think the
Right.
experience of doing this
As a pilot
is going to be
project,
very
yeah,
useful as
seems-
a pilot
That's-
project.
Yeah.
And that's why I figured it would be good.
It's the
right there.
first time we get a handle on how much there is
Yeah.
per hour or per day.
I'm hoping that I check it in a
would be
week and there's
interesting to
2
keep
pounds of
that
stuff in it.
Data too, to
That's
say how
right.
much,
Right.
classics
Yeah.
and.
It'll
other
be,
stuff
it'll be
too.
part of our educational documents to say,
And
here,
water
we had this
testing
on
right
for
there.
30 days and we collected
X amount.
40 pounds of
Right.
trash.
It'll be a lot more than that, I think.
Can the
I don't
environmental
know, yeah.
commission be on board to, and Brian, I'm realistically, I'm probably asking you. Can
That's
you
fine.
commit to, like at least a weekly photograph and not a complete inventory, but just to.
I'm there at almost daily.
Yeah, I
yes,
figured,
yes.
but that way, at every council
Mhm.
meeting, that could be a simple share, it could go in.
I'll just send an email to you and then you can share it at the council
Uh-huh.
meeting, sure,
Okay,
100%.
and then the only other thought in my mind that's still part of a pilot, any kind of pilot experiment, you do want to monitor, learn as you go, and we also are gonna, I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself, because of course there's a discussion at the council, but I think assuming that they're interested in experimenting with this pilot project, we want to get feedback from the DPW too.
Yeah, I
That could
think
be-
that Nick, what I'm gonna do tomorrow, if we all decided, let's do it,
Yeah.
I'll send you and Nick and Ralph on the email and Mayor Halpern said, look, we discussed it, we approved it. Now
Yeah,
bounce it off of DPW. Who is the liaison? Is McHugh, right? Councilman McHugh?
and me.
And you, so, all right, so so,
So,
and then you would have a discussion and say, okay, yeah, we're willing to do it as well.
there's no
um,
special equipment required for the
No,
maintenance on
not
this?
until it gets too heavy. I mean, if it's, I know the garbage cans can't be heavier than 50 pounds. So, I would monitor and say, hey, it looks, I'll go down there, lift it and put one of my fish scales on it. If it gets to a point where we have 2 feet of garbage in it, probably time to empty it. When they go down and empty the cans at the dock, they're there anyway.
Yeah,
I know, it'll be part of that maintenance.
Right.
We need to put together a short story on what we hope to learn from this.
We already have it.
Yeah,
We
good
have it.
idea.
Well,
That'll
now,
be an email.
Well, you know what,
I
I think,
get quantitatively, we don't have it yet. We
I
don't know
agree,
how
we don't
much.
have it, it's a very good idea.
No, but I'll put
The
it,
narrative is an important piece in how we explain to people
Right.
what it is.
well, I also don't think people realize
No,
they don't.
what comes out. And remember,
They
you
don't.
guys have said after a big storm, you go down there and you see the stuff coming
Well,
out.
you have
We
1.5
need a video of that to be like, this is what's happening.
You have 1.5
This
inches
is
of
what
rain.
we're trying to stop.
No, you have 18.2 million gallons at 1.5 inches of rain in the town of Fairhaven. That's what enters the river.
And that's
So
what people need to
everything
be,
that's
know,
with
how many
that-
gallons of water come
It's a lot
into
of
this,
gallons.
right?
Yeah,
And I
it's a
think
lot.
these numbers can be like, wow,
Can you and I work on a narrative?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's all part of the municipal
Because I'm
water
not good
story.
with
and
that.
the water
Yeah.
The
story.
water story.
It would be the
all
water story.
Going through, and this could be a great
Yep.
piece of how
Yeah.
we're, the
Yeah,
future of our.
And I wouldn't use 1.5 inches of rain, that's a lot of frequent rain.
Right,
But if you back it down to 75,
sure.
3/4 of an inch,
So you just
that's
calculate that.
that's
and show
9.1
the
gallons.
number.
Then,
I mean,
9.1 million gallons, it's not rocket science.
So, Brian, maybe the first step, because we don't have anything from Nick here at tonight's meeting,
Yeah, I have the emails, but
you have your
I do.
emails.
I have his emails, yes.
So, we could probably two birds, one stone, if you could, get from Nick, a summary with some of those figures as to average rainfall, sort of what the storm drain, what the catchment system right now is known to carry in any way, whether it's debris or storm water, whatever he has that's quantifiable. And then we can use that for the story, but it is also important. Council's gonna want that too.
Yeah, I don't know what data he has, I know what data we have from the
Great,
DEP.
maybe just
And-
ask
and I'll
him, and
collaborate
we'll
with
have
him.
yours too,
Mhm.
okay.
And I think coupled though with some images or some videos, because.
I have the
I'm a
videos.
Visual alert, like you
Me
see
too.
that, you can
It's
say
crazy.
a couple 100,000, like whatever gallons, but you see it flushing out.
You think about a
Okay.
2-inch fire hose
Yeah,
and the water coming out of that, this is
Right.
10 times.
sure.
It is.
Okay.
We live
Yeah.
next
It's
door.
I
nuts.
know,
Watching
I know,
it.
so go down there
This
next
is gonna
week.
be
to our
something
review.
I have.
Could be very
Yeah.
I
good.
take
I'd
another
like to see
video.
that
I'll
very
take
good.
that.
Okay.
Could be very, very good.
It fills
Yeah.
up
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
a third of the pipe.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
a-
that's what I'm gonna, in the
Your
Navigation
neighbor
River
has to-
Municipalities Committee meeting,
Sarah has
say,
to
look,
be-
Fairhaven's doing this, how about you guys?
Well, let's give them the results of what we know
Correct.
after 6 months or so.
Somebody's gotta do it.
And then you can share
Mhm.
it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, to summarize, we're going to try and
get that.
pull
national
some
record.
data out of
Yeah.
this, the data that we have, set up an experiment, set up a pilot project.
Pilot project, I don't want to be experiment.
A pilot
Yeah.
project, and be very careful to understand what we want to measure before we put it in,
Well,
and then measure it.
Correct.
we're gonna measure the amount of solids that come off of the Fairhaven.
Well, I'd also measure the toxicity of it, for example.
I won't know that unless we
Well,
have
you could
access
do
to a
that.
lab.
We can get that,
Can't you send
I
it
don't
out
know.
like?
it's not that hard to
monthly or
do,
quarterly?
really.
Well, I don't know how to do it.
Well, maybe
We've
something
done
else
it for
does.
E.
We should figure out what
We-
we want to be able to measure.
we
What-
had to
Well,
do
E.
it.
coli is not, that we can test in the
You can
water.
test
I
yourself.
don't know how to test the garbage for toxicity.
Well, we've tested McCarter Pond.
That's water though, this
Water.
is
He's
solid.
talking- and Aren't you talking
Oh,
about?
I'm talking about solids.
The
Oh,
same
no, I'm
people
thinking
that
of
can
water
test that.
right out. That's
I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to test a solid, other than put in a grinder,
We'll
which is
find
what
out.
they do with the fish out at Sandy Hook, but
Yeah. and they gotta-
I don't know how to do that. I can find out, but I'm not, because the toxicity we already know in the water.
Would it be,
Right.
It's the water.
would it be acceptable to begin with just categories of bulk,
Yeah.
categories of
Yeah.
solids
Yeah.
that we find?
Yeah.
It might help us understand, maybe there's other things we want to measure too, but until we see what's coming out.
So
Well,
couldn't
so
you
let's
measure
think
just the
about that.
output, the water right there, right by the, where, discharges from?
It's in between our house and the dock is the pipe. So
Compared to water testing from Grange, Chance and stuff,
that won't be any different than the data we have now.
Right,
Yeah.
but just saying that, so as just, because once with the net on and you're stopping a lot of this junk from getting in the water.
Is it
Is it gonna change the
I
water
don't know.
quality from right there? at the output?
No, because the E. coli is still getting, the only thing that the state
But right from.
test is, and we can try to. I had access to another lab in Pennsylvania. Through the Oceanport Water Watch. But they still only test for E. coli.
Okay.
The state, because of the shellfish. They don't test for any other thing, because the main issue is E. coli.
Is what's a public health?
That's a public health issue with the clams. Have a bad clam, you have a big problem.
Or oysters?
Well, there aren't any, but yeah, but we're gonna change that.
Shh, I'm not allowed to say that.
So, yes, so the shellfish are, I've been doing this on the backs of the shellfish, literally. Because the state for interstate commerce of shellfish has to maintain water quality.
Mhm.
And that's where it'll stem from. So the water quality, we have that figured out. With the Storm system will do the solids, which the state doesn't care about. Not that they don't care, they don't test for it because there's no.
Plastics out of the water.
Right, so it would be getting the plastics, the paper, the, bottle caps, whatever it is that's running through those storms. And I've watched it, and it's crazy, the stuff that comes flying out.
I'm thinking of the dog feces that are
Right.
bound to be in there and bound to be. being
I am
saved.
not going to sift through it and take samples. No, I will take
If
pictures.
you take pictures and do a cleanup in action, like
Right.
they just categorize like.
They do the beach
They
cleanup, when we were doing the beach
categorize,
cleanup
right.
still, say, okay, we had 5,000 straws, hence the straw ban with the turtle.
It'll certainly.
It will give us that data to say, here kids, this is what we're pulling out, or that we're stopping now from going into the waterways.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Just as
In
a
terms
follow-up,
of
Ralph,
toxicity.
just a
Pardon me?
follow-up, I'll send over, I have some maps, I've got the GIS data for the state of New Jersey, and we have pretty accurate data on the topography, which we may be able to then develop a boundary, because some of the areas like flow indirectly, like Fourth Creek, they flow directly into the river, and some of it comes through our actual stormwater system. So we probably want to figure that out. That'll probably help us,
That would be helpful.
I have to get all the topography to about 10, 11 inches, so that'll allow us to tell us which way we're going on what part of the town.
Okay, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you, John.
No worries. I'll send you
Okay.
the sample maps so we can all look at them together and chat about them.
Cool.
All righty, so the next item on here, if I remember correctly, was the anti-idling.
Yes,
That I think we should move ahead with.
sure. So there's a couple things. So anti-idling is also part of the school system, the Board of Ed, the Green Team as well. And Knollwood Green Team has been taking steps to educate. And they've been working on this, as you remember watching the video that they posted on the nightly news about what idling is, why it's bad. They've also been making signs up around Knollwood. But I believe it's on a standstill until they come back in September.
Mhm.
However, there is anti-idling education enforcement program for town, for municipalities. This is through Sustainable Jersey for 10 points as well. You know that the state of New Jersey, you can only idle up to 3
3
minutes,
minutes.
3
right?
minutes.
However, to earn points for the additional points for this anti-idling program and for a town, you need to complete at least 3 of the following, which is pass an anti-idling resolution. You can also post no idling signs at priority anti-idling locations, which obviously some of these priorities are right in front of Knollwood School, right in front of Sickles School, some of these places where there's a lot of their priority because people are in their car waiting for their kids. Secondly, priority because all the fumes coming out of the cars are at height level of the students that are biking and riding back and by, which is, dangerous to their health. So those type of locations, or developing a plan to enforcement plan, producing educational materials and distributing them. So these are doable actions
Right.
that we can kind of collaborate with the schools green team, because I think it's obviously something that works for both a healthier community where we live, but also healthier for our students and for our schools as well. So I think this could be a great collaborative effort, but it does require some town actions like a anti-idling resolution, and an enforcement program.
Teresa has been talking to Scott. And they decided to start off by having an information kind of approach, sharing information on it and trying to convince people not to do it. That's fine, before they put up the idling signs.
Sure.
They didn't want to, Teresa did not want to put those up first. So she's going to be doing this going into the fall semesters.
Okay. And there are some ways to do it where the kids, you know, kind of take the hand out and, you know, do some cutesy ones rather than not say against the law, but, you know, some other ways to inform, you know, that you can do it as well.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I thought we all, I mean, this is a while ago and I read through a whole bunch of stuff and I could have something wrong. But do you guys think that we have a no idling?
We have a state law.
State law, 3
State law,
minutes.
but not a
I think
municipal
at schools,
resolution.
it's not, I'm not talking about the state law. What do I remember reading for Fairhaven about no idling in the school pickup for Knollwood
The
and?
no idling zones.
Yeah, I think it is a no idle.
Well, they
That
haven't
would be
made
the
it
Board of Ed.
to the
I'm
law
not so
yet.
sure.
I don't know.
Why don't I just try to do a little research? I can't remember.
So
what
we
I
need
read, sorry.
to, one thing that we have to do though is map priority anti-idling locations throughout the community, which I don't think that that's a very hard thing to do.
Police know what it is. They told me right away.
Right? Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You-
They know exactly where
Sure.
the parking is.
So the second part of this, which I always bring up as enforcement, who's gonna do that?
Which is
Well,
the hard, which is always.
That's
the
always, you
crux,
pass the
right?
ordinance, the police don't have enough manpower to go.
Well,
Through the
Teresa
parking
didn't
lots.
even want to put up signs yet until we get.
Well, I thought the Board of Ed was putting up the signs.
Well, it can be a junction of collaboration between the two. I mean, I
I think
feel,
it's a municipal
The
street.
Board of
so-
Ed can't put them up in public
Yeah.
streets.
But
Although-
they're not idling in public streets or at sportsman's.
Well, it's
field.
always-
They are,
No,
Fairhaven Road.
they're all over the place, Ralph.
Yeah,
They
okay.
park in Borough Hall, which you're not allowed to.
Right.
They come through the back of Borough Hall, outside in front of my building, but they're not allowed to. They park at Sportsman Field, on the field, in the parking lot, that's Board of Ed property.
right,
The problem is, there is no way, I get it, it's great, there's already no idling law in the state, but nobody enforces it, so we just
and
gonna
there's
put
also though.
another no idling ordinance that nobody
No
can
awareness
enforce.
of it though. There's no awareness. of
Right,
it.
understood, so I
And
put up
if
some
there's no
signs.
enforcement, somebody's
So
gonna.
how
be
much does it
determined
cost for a
15
couple of
minutes.
signs to put up there to remind people?
And some of those fences though are on Board of Ed
Correct,
property.
yes.
Let me just say that
You can do.
it was the
Put up a
awareness,
few signs,
it
what
was,
does that cost?
Teresa said, look, we don't want to have something which is all of a sudden coming out.
It's not all of a sudden,
Enforcement when people have not been made aware
I
of
don't know,
it.
it's,
So that's fine.
just because you're oblivious to law doesn't mean that you can break the law.
No,
I
of
mean,
course
that
not.
doesn't, so
But she'd like to do
if the
some.
Board of Ed puts up some signs on their property, why can't that be enough for
Haven't we
now?
had it in the
She would like to
newsletters?
have
It's
an
been in the
awareness.
newsletters.
And I
It's
think
been
it's on
there,
there, and
come
I
on.
think it's on the electronic board.
Come on,
I think it has something about.
Rumsden has
that.
Rumsden has all the signs up.
Rumsden has signs.
They do, they have all signs up by their
We went over
schools.
there.
Yeah. I just,
so,
I don't think it has to be something that people think of it like it's in my face. I think when people learn
just a
it,
reminder,
if you saw
Yeah.
that interview that your neighbor did, I think that Jenny's daughter did,
Yep.
it's
It's
informative,
awesome.
it's educational, it's by kids.
Absolutely.
Why does this matter to me? Because of the asthma, the health, it's bad for the environment.
so will Sean, I thought Sean
You know.
McNeil was pro a
He's
couple of
totally
signs.
pro. He's totally
So
pro.
he's
it.
pro.
So I think.
I don't think it's a
matter-
problem. I mean, again, I think Tracy and the mayor here, I mean, it's just, you could have a soft enforcement and just post the signs as a reminder.
Put up the signs and see what happens.
And just say,
If-
you don't have
if
to go out
6 or
there with
7
on a, you don't have to go out on a ticket, blitz. You can just put up the sign and start to, say to people, hey, this is no idling zone.
Right, they might not even know about. idling,
Just
you
as a
know.
reminder, that's all. But if it's 0 degrees out, they're probably gonna keep the heat on, just saying.
Let me suggest something
But it's a
here.
good
least
suggestion.
we're
just put up a
lowering
sign.
some
Let
of
me,
the-
let me suggest something here, and that is that we I'll put together, in fact, a recommendation to Teresa that after an awareness period of maybe 2 months, September and October, that we be prepared to install signs which say, just as Rumson has, no idling.
Okay,
Or
can I make
three
a
months.
suggestion too? I know you're looking for the environmental impact here.
Right,
Maybe the way to get to the environmental impact is to educate people on the financial impact right now of them leaving their car
That's
idling.
true.
I don't think people realize, I mean, they realize the cost of gas right now, but I don't think when they're sitting outside the school, that cash register is really rolling for them. So
No, I
maybe
don't
they
think so.
connect the two,
Cold
maybe they'll
hands
think
are.
twice before keeping the car on,
That's a good point, good point.
And I'll carry this conversation about awareness to the outreach and communications committees where this has come up in the past. And one of the thoughts, there were many thoughts, one of them involved sort of a playful video that would help explain.
What about even doing the
And
video?
that wouldn't have to come out till.
That CC did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, did you see the
I saw it.
CC's video? It
So-
was
It
adorable.
was great.
I mean, who's gonna say no to that? You know, I think it's informative and educational.
Could that be something that we pass around? that we-
Yeah, actually, it went out on, I believe, I'll follow up, but I think that actually was circulated through the constant contact. That was shared, I'll follow up, and
I
that
don't
was.
know if it was, yeah. I don't remember seeing
That
it, but
wasn't the intention. I-
Okay.
Try to pay
I
attention.
thought that's how I saw it, but I'll
Um,
make sure.
what about,
The timing isn't good now, you guys. School's gonna be out.
sure.
Right, just have the signs ready for fall and.
Brian's
put 'em
right.
up.
You're gonna put Officer Brian out there. He'll have this
What
message.
about, and Steph just asked, county health officials, can they enforce or?
County health?
County health?
No,
It
no.
depends on.
Can you invite them and no?
It would
Just
depend
on
Okay.
if it was a
local laws.
sewage or, septic.
I wonder
or
if like,
something
what if
that.
even like the school, like their student council, like just went, just playfully,
Are you
Like
talking
monitors.
about public awareness campaign?
yeah,
I'm sure if we Googled it, there's probably a flyer, we can circulate it.
right, just like,
Something simple
put it right
to-
on
to
there
the
and be
kids.
like, yeah,
Just send it home with the kids on the opening day of school. or
I was
something
gonna
like
say
that.
back to school night.
back to
That's
school,
Back to
right,
school
put a
night.
flyer
That
in
could be
there
part
that's
of
like,
the
Very,
awareness
very
part.
simple,
you
yes. We'll worry about that in September.
Partners.
Well, that'll be part of the
PTA,
awareness.
But
yeah.
And-
Okay.
But the awareness has to
Sure.
end, we have to get some action, like signs.
Well, I would just do the signs as part of the awareness and then send the flyers home. All right.
It's beyond the awareness that I think Teresa
Okay.
will want.
Give everybody a chance to comply. It's never hurtful to do that, and then if they don't, then you move on.
John. Okay. Then I think there's just one more item in here, if I remember. And that is
Living Shore.
living shoreline. Yeah, where are we on that now?
Yes. I know Brian and I, we didn't get together last month, but we need to get together to, I guess, make the recommendation on what we'd like to see in this project. That was what you had asked us of last time, so.
Well, I pulled out the emails, so we have the design that you guys sent to you and Tracy. But again, it's gonna come down to funding.
Right.
Well, some of that is in place, but if you're able to put in writing the collective position of the environmental commission and convey that to council, then that would help
Are we
to
on
move
the
the
favor of a
conversation.
living shoreline? that-
Well, I think we talked
Robert-
about
I think we
Yeah.
certainly, it's another thing, we need a pilot plan.
Well, we need to have the commitment of the EC that we're all for it. So
Well,
we're all
I'm saying
for it.
yes.
Just waiting
Okay.
for us,
I think we
right?
talked about there's living shoreline, but then there's also the opportunity for rain garden at the end too. So it's a matter of
Let's
like
just
one and
do,
into.
one.
Mhm.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, I would just let's do the living shore, all right, so we'll move ahead with the living shoreline. We have those emails.
Can I
We can get,
have a copy of them or see them?
we can, yeah,
It was
you're
sent,
on.
it was sent to you.
You're on.
I don't think I've seen them.
Okay.
I recall.
I can pull them out again from the archives.
Um,
So you and I can get a hold of New Jersey Sea Grant and the Littoral Society,
That'd be good. Very good.
to see if we can pull them back in. I know the Littoral Society was waiting for the engineering updates from Rich, and so let's see where things stand with that.
I believe you have a plan as prepared by.
We
the
do, but it
Borough
wasn't, there was some tweaking that needed to do by Rich, and I
Can
don't
we-
know where it
can
stands.
we- Can, by next meeting, can we collect the comments, observations, the recommendations of this body
Have
The
a-
rec-
before
yeah.
your August recess?
I have everything,
Well, there might be other people who have thoughts too, and I would just want to make sure that when you and Jesse meet, that you have a chance to run it by the rest of the members of the commission, so that it reflects the consensus of the body.
I thought we had that, I'm sorry.
I kind of thought so too, but it does keep bouncing around, so I just want to make sure that
Well,
that's. what we
if
get.
somebody's opposed to it, let us know, because what I was, the next step for me was, because I'm not going to, if you can talk to Teresa and ask her if the drawings are still on Rich's desk or where they stand.
You guys have
Yes.
them.
Here's that to us, the list.
They were never updated by Rich per the, I'll check with Tim Dillingham at the Literal Society, but the last email I received from him, and that's where it sat, was that it didn't come back from the town.
Why don't
There
you
were
send
some
me,
updates.
why don't you send me that,
Hmm,
whatever that last email that you.
doesn't
think-
matter.
Yes.
If
it
you can
does.
check that side, I'll check my side. How about that?
Just
We can
send
do
me
it.
whatever it is you're talking about.
If I can find an email, Tracy, I will, but that's what it occurred.
Well, why don't I
That's
just
fine.
call, one of us called Rich?
That's what I was trying to do. I'll try to, I'll email Teresa again. I was hoping I could do it on my council,
Okay.
but I'll do it.
Tell me what, I'd like to close on this
Hmm.
and have us, have the EC confirm their support for a pilot at least.
Gonna come down to funding.
So what I
Well,
would say, yeah,
let's
I
forget
think
the
Ralph's
funding for
on the
now.
right track, because if there's additional work that needs to be done, that'll be done at the direction of council, not this body. So if you could prepare your comments and put that in writing, that would suffice.
If we pull that together in the next week or two, in fact, to give us time. And we can start sharing it with Rich and with Teresa, with the council,
Or just send it to council.
just basically awareness. So, sooner than later.
If just trying to say that you don't need to get this project across the finish line by engaging with the borough engineer, engaging with Teresa. There's a lot of, that can be a very frustrating effort. So for now,
Just the support of the commission.
Yes.
Line to do this project.
yes.
Which is,
That's
Our
right.
recommendations, yeah, and then.
which we have, right?
Yeah.
Well,
But
having it
specific
and putting it in writing and letting others know that you have it, that it's there, and letting the council know that we support it. And Teresa didn't know, but that's what she's preferably going to be doing. That's what's
Do we have to
important.
get it on the next?
It doesn't have to be for the next meeting, because you guys all need a chance to review the letter or whatever, whatever you're gonna write up.
Wouldn't hurt, otherwise it'll be September and a lot of those things are coming up.
I have it all.
We do have a- okay.
I'll call Tim tomorrow. But that's where I ended up.
So let's get it straight, who's doing what to whom?
Brian and I are working on this.
Work on it.
And what's the result that we're gonna
We're
have?
gonna have an email. We're
We
gonna
send
also
an email
do
to the EC for approval to set up the chain.
We're supporting material we can use, and
It's supporting
I
the
can
living
sit down
shoreline
and-
Fit in the
project.
living shoreline.
yeah,
Mhm.
I can sit down with Teresa and go through it.
Again, you're gonna find out it's there.
So just why don't you?
I'm gonna start with Teresa, with an email to Teresa tomorrow morning
Okay,
to see where it still stands after all this time.
good. Put me on copy too and all for it too.
I was trying not to do it. I'll do it.
Appreciated, thank you. Okay. Okay, I think that closes that. Is there any new business that we should be considering?
Kelly, you have the.
Oh, yes, here I have this stuff.
Yeah, so, it's because people that are not plant people, we don't know what invasives, non-invasives, at one point, all these species were invasive unless they were indigenous to the United States with the Indians.
Right.
So I don't know what changed and when and all that. So Going Native, a guide to landscape native plants in the Barnegat Bay watershed. So this is a pamphlet from the Barnegat, it's done in conjunction with the Barnegat Bay Partnership, but it's stemming from an organization called National Wildlife Federation and the Garden for Wildlife. So it's to get, and I believe, Bonnie, you have this, National Wildlife Federation Certified Wildlife Habitat. So there are ways to get this accreditation. To this property is recognized for its commitment to the sustainability, provide essential elements of wildlife habitat, food, water, cover, and places to raise young, except for deer. That's not on that, I was kidding. So this was something that was brought to my attention through the Atlantic Highlands EC, a client of mine brought it to my attention. I wanted to share it with everybody. I will give it to Christie, and maybe, I don't know, you want to scan it?
I
and
can
send
scan
it,
it and send it.
and send it to everybody to peruse and see if it's something we want to do in conjunction with the green team and the great work that they're doing.
Good.
Yeah, I
So,
mentioned this to the green team previously,
have.
like, because I mean, with the talks of the pollinator gardens and whatnot, like, it could be literally individual homes, if you wanted it to be like for your own home.
Yeah.
If you have
Right.
a little garden, or it could be on municipal property,
And
yeah.
this was also at the EcoFest as well. There was this pamphlets of in conjunction with a lot of other things like the pollinator pathways and the milkweed stations, but gardening for wildlife too. And I think going in line with the pollinator pathways that we've been trying to talk about, I think this is just another option of I mean, look at
It's
as a
education.
homeowner.
I don't know these plants,
To know
but
these plants and like
you
ask
know,
when I go to Sickles or go to a
Yeah.
nursery to be like,
Right.
hey, do you have this? So and
and I think for a layman like me,
That's really important.
and I think, and it's in here, is why does it matter? Right, and I'm not being belligerent or I'm just don't know.
Yeah.
I know why it matters that there's invasive species in the river or an ecosystem like that. That's my wheelhouse. But for me, a plant is a plant, except for, knotweed, which you guys have brought to my attention. And bamboo, obviously, because we had a huge crop on our property that took my uncle 10 years and to eradicate, and 10 years probably off his life. So I get that stuff, but then, to have this pamphlet, like Kelly was saying, that has all these, okay, this is what's native.
Yeah.
And it goes in shrubs, trees, perennials, all that stuff. So I thought it was a neat herbaceous perennials, herbaceous, or grasses, all that kind of stuff, switchgrass and all. And this was tailored around the Barnegat Bay, but it would probably be similar
Very
to the
similar.
Navasink waters, to our watershed. So I just wanted to bring this to the attention of the EC, doing my part for
I think
the
it's awesome.
plant people.
We've got a lot of plant people.
We do, and I love plants, but I don't like,
Robin,
I only like plants that produce things, vegetables, fruit.
Butterflies.
Yes.
Yes, I love
You need the
butterflies.
pollinators, otherwise you're not gonna.
Yes, so I did plant an apple orchard at my office. Bees love it.
But I mean, it'd be good for something like this too, could eventually.
Well,
have
you know,
like a-
I have a file for that.
And yes, so
Yeah.
Brian, you were
Yeah.
not at the Learn Where You Live Day, but we had a flyer up. That was why are native plants important? Look at their root
That's what we
system
wanna know,
and the drainage,
Right,
right?
which is
We
huge.
have we did a big poster of that,
Mhm.
which is,
So
there you
yeah,
go.
native
visually
plants, it's
there.
easy to explain now because they have deeper root systems, so on and so forth.
You don't need
And
to water much
especially for me,
either.
where you don't have,
So
I'm
save
worried
money
about
on your-
erosion and all
on
that
your-
in the river.
Sprinkler system.
Right.
Right?
I mean, with trees too, because the
Yeah.
deeper roots is really
Yes.
important for trees.
Yeah, we don't want
They're the
stuff
first
like,
ones to go down in storms.
Probably Kelly, some reusable things from
Oh.
that. flow.
yeah, that's just
Yes,
for that.
there's some great stuff.
And I was thinking.
All right, so we have some more agenda items. Do we have
Yeah,
any,
sure.
council update?
Yeah,
And,
couple quick things. You ready?
yep,
So on the heels of the art project that I helped get installed at Borough Hall, Betty Ann wrote up a little, well, Stephanie, I was just the intern. Stephanie wrote up a little blurb that goes with the art project that went up on your EC webpage today. Oceans, what is it today?
Ocean
World
World
Ocean Day.
Day.
World Ocean Day is today.
Yeah.
I did.
So I wanted to make sure you knew that. There is a very interesting idea that's being circulated, and some other folks can probably speak to this, this has been discussed with RAC. and some green team members about the idea of like a summer film series that would feature conservation or natural films, maybe in the lawn at the Centennial Hall. You just bring beach chairs, and I mean, it's such a simple, easy kind of get together, raises awareness. It's a fun little outing. Rec is very much in favor and open to the idea. They don't have endless funds, neither does the Environmental Commission. You do have access to an endless film library of conservation films and natural films, as you're a member of the ANJAC, the State Environmental Commission. So they have a phenomenal library that you can borrow films from and show them locally. The only thing we're missing is a projector and screen. Some of the research that, and REC is prepared to talk about this on their meeting to see if the committee agrees to put some money towards it. And the question is now put before the Environmental Commission to see if you guys want to put some money towards it. There's projectors and screens are not that expensive anymore. It's very accessible AV tech. So I wanted to introduce the idea for you to think about it.
Problem,
You would also need speakers too, right?
Most of the projector, but it probably is a good idea.
the
I'm
pros.
sure that there's the right person to
Right.
select the equipment. I'm
Yeah.
good
And
with
this
that
would be
person.
indoor, outdoor in case of
Yeah,
weather situation.
yeah, and
Okay.
it'd be so easy to move into like
Yeah,
Centennial
sure.
Hall if you were in the lawn and the weather changed or something.
Problem is, and we have to figure out is the acoustics, you'll never be able to hear it
Not inside, it will be more difficult.
inside. the pool.
But the, it was envisioned as an outdoor
Yeah.
get together,
Put up a
which
blanket,
is
you know,
where the,
beach chair
yeah,
kind of thing.
very low key.
So at that point, why wouldn't you do it at the youth center or the community center, or whatever we call it these days? And
Well,
do it
that'd be
again-
inside.
No, and do it against a wall outside.
Well, you
Yeah, that
could,
big wall.
you could. I mean, if we had the equipment, you could do it where you
Oh.
wanted to do it.
On the,
Just hang a bed sheet up and done.
Yeah, you could.
you might not even, I mean, isn't it a white wall?
Couldn't be.
The
Just takes a gallon of
screens are not.
So, yeah,
Well, let me put it this way, if you do have a little money left in your budget, I don't know what
Buy
you're planning to
all
do with it. Whatever you have at the end of the fiscal year will get pushed into surplus and it is gone.
but we lose it, or use
Lose
it, or lose it.
So keeping in mind, it seems to be a nice little idea. If it's $800 from EC and 800 from REC, you know, it's got legs. And you guys could just borrow the films from ANJAC. They arrive, we use them, and we got a nice little get together.
Can we just? we probably just
But
do
you
it.
would need a computer as well.
Some projectors you don't.
Yes.
It depends on how the
Oh.
film from ANJAC, it depends on their
So
format.
they're all Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and they're $200.
They're as low as 200, they
Yeah.
go up to 1,500, and they're not gonna be more than a couple $1,000s.
I think my neighbor, CC and them, I think
They have a
Brian,
they have a backyard one, right?
Brian paid like $200 for it.
Yeah.
And it's
It really
great.
is
I watch it over the
pretty
fence, out of my bathroom.
I like that.
But the quality's great, so I don't see any reason to spend more than that.
But it would be nice to have some that can also adapt like a computer into it though.
What is, it's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Oh,
or
They
okay.
just Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. That's what Brian does,
Got it, because I was gonna
because you
say,
can just go on Netflix.
for our
Presentation.
composting
Right.
workshop,
Yeah,
we
you
had
do.
somebody plug in.
You do Bluetooth and Wi-Fi
Okay.
to it, so you can use anybody's computer or iPhone. At that point, you don't even need to borrow movies, you just go to Netflix and say, hey, we're gonna show Jaws tonight, which is not environmental, but for me, it's
Well,
my favorite movie.
So.
And that we would
I
show in the
think-
town
Do you
dock.
know what you have in
We
your
have
budget?
it, no, we have enough money in
Well, we-
our account to do it.
This,
I'd like to make sure we
Stickers are
get
coming out?
exactly the right equipment.
aren't the stickers coming out of our budget?
Yes,
And
How
there'd
much for the
still be
stickers?
some left.
Rec doesn't have a couple
Yes.
$100.
Yeah, our stickers are.
They
coming
do.
out, right?
The deal
And all
was
the
to
plans.
talk about it together to see if
And
we
some
can
plans
combine.
perhaps?
Yeah, I think our budget is,
Plans.
I think we're probably pretty
Plans.
close to the end of our budget with plans and stickers and stuff.
Stickers.
Well, maybe. you
Well,
should
let's,
see
I mean,
what
check,
you
what's
have.
our budget, 25?
2,500,
2,500.
Stickers were gonna be
15.
around 11.
okay.
And if we spend like $500, I mean,
So
or
there's-
$600 on plans.
So there's 1,600.
With the sign, we can fundraise maybe, yes, sure. Can we fundraise?
The environmental commission can't,
green
Can the
team
green
can.
team, the green team could.
Green team can. Commissioner can't.
How do we take
But-
some bases?
Keep receipts. Yeah, we'll
But
have
I
to-
can-
we'll have to
I
talk
can
about it.
But again, we're not talking about a high ticket item.
No, but you know, I mean, we could,
If you want to wait till you're closer to the end of the year, see where your
That's
expenditures
what
are.
I'm getting.
Yeah.
And then that'll give some time to put together the equipment, the
Now,
combo.
What I'd like to know is, I think we can get the money out, little doubt. The question I have is, who is savvy enough about this equipment, Brian, to know what to buy? You are? Fine.
Mhm.
Then why don't you make a
I
proposal?
just
Does
bought
that
one.
mean an
For the
environmental
next
commission member
meeting.
has to attend the event?
Okay.
I bought one, I'll rent it to the E EC.
yeah, right. Well, Steph put a screen in.
I think we want our own.
I know,
but-
it's too small. for-
But here's the thing though, right? I mean, if Rec and EC are still buying the screen and all the equipment, I mean, that's. Shouldn't the borough have this stuff?
Yeah.
Well, there is.
Yeah.
the reality of
For
it.
$500, bro.
They're
Like,
dealing
so that when
has-
somebody can present to the council
This
right
is the
here.
reality.
It's gonna have to be stored somewhere, and they should have.
Yeah, it's not gonna go in my
Well,
limited
the
storage
borough's
space.
Tell Teresa.
No,
to
it's
split
gonna be
the
borough
500.
equipment.
But then
And
why is it just Rec and EC and
Right.
putting it in that,
Because
because what if the historic
this
commission
is-
does historic?
they'll use it
Tell you
too.
what, we can argue that, but if we have the money and we want the thing done,
For five,
do it.
for $500, you can buy a very good piece of equipment with the screen, with a stand for the piece of equipment. Right now on Amazon.
And remember, you know, what we have a funding partner, I can ask other groups too. I
Yeah,
think
but-
the idea is, this is still we're bootstrapping, right? I
Mhm.
mean,
I get it.
I personally have spent 6 months trying to get proposals for AV equipment for this room that can also live in Bicentennial Hall.
Right.
And it has not been easy. So,
I know.
yeah.
Why,
right,
just
so-
go ahead, we will pay our share. If
I'll
you
let-
arrange it, we'll just go ahead, I don't see a point waiting till September.
I'll let Rec know. They'll put
I
it
mean,
on
that
their
would be a
agenda.
really nice thing, I think, a summer film series.
100%.
We
Exactly.
can sell
Lovely.
popcorn or something and raise
And buy another one.
Raise money for
for
the
that,
sign.
yeah, right, and some snacks
For the
there,
green
and
team.
that'll be the great team, yeah.
Do we have any public
You
comment?
know?
Yes, before.
Sorry, try to move it along.
Was there a vote to allot those
We're done.
funds?
We
to-
can, what, I'm sorry.
I really wasn't finished, actually.
I'm sorry.
Ralph, do you want to make a motion to allot those funds to
Yes,
the director?
Well, I thought we were waiting till the end of our, to see how much money we had.
No.
no,
I think.
He just.
if you would just draw up the motion, for the amount of 500, you felt?
No, why should we pay for all of it?
Oh, it's,
It's $500 for the whole thing.
well, I'm sure you just checked Amazon and everything, but let's get some advice on the tech.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's not,
Well,
I mean, the
Brian,
tech
And
is,
let's-
plus wants to
Brian.
contribute too, so.
yeah, let's
Right.
get some
we
advice
shouldn't
on,
pay for all of it.
it wouldn't be, $500 would not be. So why don't we get some advice on the AV equipment, the specifications?
Exactly.
And that way you know what you're helping to pay for.
And do you want me to put an email together for the CFO to let you know what your current balance is in your?
Yeah, we should know that, and then we need to
Yes.
put together
Yeah.
a list of expenditures
And
that
then
we
I
have.
can,
Can you,
I
Yeah.
can price out the magnets.
The magnets,
Because
well,
they-
yeah,
they have a
this-
meeting coming up for Iowa.
all,
Stickers.
Stickers,
Just doing
rather, not
stickers.
magnets,
We're not doing
stickers.
stickers, it's cheaper.
stickers, plants, or, you know, I can look at past and then and then give it, but
Sure.
if I have a list, I can send it to, of plants that we're thinking about for the fall. I can send it to, plant people, what's the name? You always help me out with it.
The Pinelands?
Pineland
Pinelands?
Nursery, and get a
Pinelands.
quote from them. Just so we have a general idea of what we have, in terms of expenditures that we've already
Okay.
talked about
So
allocating,
if we-
if we have any money left over.
If you can, basically, if Christie can collect those numbers for the 3 areas that we just talked about, 4 areas we just talked about.
Right,
Stickers.
And we have it, you can tell me what it is before the next meeting, but we'll
Yep.
have it for the next meeting. We'll approve it at the next meeting. And I'm confident that we have it in the budget. Teresa will have a few hundred left over. Always There's never a problem getting extra for monies like that, so I have no doubts we'll do it.
And I'll communicate with RAC and make sure you guys are copied. I wanted to circle back to just say the Invasive Coalition is still looking for a member of the EC, so don't overlook that if you would.
If no one does it, I'll
Okay,
put myself up.
thanks.
It's going to be,
Someone's really-
it'll be in the minutes.
Okay.
And maybe we can get the minutes out, you know, earlier rather than later, so these messages get out. In other words, instead of a week before the meeting, within a week or two of this meeting.
I'll see what I can do.
See,
Yeah.
I'll count on you,
And that's everything for now, Mr. Chairman.
okay? Okay, anything else?
Public comment.
Okay,
Okay, there are no one in the audience. Okay. Bonnie, I'm gonna move you over. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes?
Okay. Hi, thanks, everybody. There's an interesting article in the Patch today about the public lands in New Jersey and the lack of funding and the lack of attention and how the parks are all in trouble, and it's a statewide problem. And I look at our lovely town that has so many public areas, 37 acres under Fairhaven Rec. The Fairhaven Natural Area is 40 acres. We have Harding Bird Sanctuary, we have McCarter Pond and Park. I think it is time that we have a huge environmental wonderland, and we haven't been giving it much of its due in terms of maintenance. I mean, you know, Ralph, you were pointing that out, like McCarter Pond. We need to maintain these wonderful resources we have. Brian Olson, who is working with the Eagle Scout over at the Pathway into Fairhaven Fields. I was just over there today, working with these invasives. If you have not walked that path, if you missed the nature area tour with the Rutgers-led guide this weekend, it was incredibly informative about what's happening. I mean, there are invasives. It's like when the river had dead fish all over. We have like dead vines all over our natural. Brian, you're shaking your head, but it's very similar. I mean, it's really, you know, it's our environment. It's okay. Well, I'm just saying something that I hope you all get involved with this invasive issue, because it's a pretty big deal. So.
I appreciate what you're saying.
Thank you, I thought we were, yeah, and thank you.
we haven't taken any action yet, but I think you hear a lot of consonants with those thoughts. And I really think we're going to have to soon nudge people along to maintain just those areas that you talked about. I'm quite unhappy with the entrance park to Fairhaven, you know, at Schwenkers. It's never maintained. There were people doing some work there today, and I hope they're doing some of the things.
Was that actually maintenance, or was that just because
That
they're
was just
staging?
I think it's
there?
staging.
for-
That's
Staging.
They're staging for the curbs.
Yeah,
And,
well,
I mean, doesn't this fall under DPW, Trace?
So, not automatically, and it seems that, and I'm still learning some of this, but I recently learned that most expenses, whether it's an improvement or maintenance or repair or a new purchase, if it's over 5,000, it's considered for a bond ordinance,
For maintenance,
even maintenance.
really?
So and when I say I'm still learning, I mean, there may be things about this that's my current understanding. I feel that should be revisited as a matter of policy. I believe there are other members of the council who feel the same way. What I can say is that we're fortunate, right? We've got 100 acres of open space, not generating tax dollars. We have to take care of them. And if we want DPW to be doing something, then we would need to direct them. It's not automatic. I guess. is the
Right,
answer.
but wouldn't that come from the committee that's tasked with, let's say, Fairhaven Fields, right, the natural?
No, the
I know in
directives
the-
don't come from the committees. Especially, an advisory committee would advise a commission, that commission would advise the council, that council would direct the department.
So it still has to come from the natural area committee to,
That's a clean pathway, it doesn't have to.
I'm just trying to think of the order of.
Brian, can I
know
just,
that- I know that, I'm just trying to figure out how that would be, I know it's been done plenty of times where DPW goes into
Well, they
the-
partner
the
with the.
fields
natural
and they-
area.
and they-
Yes,
tell them where to go. We worked for years, which was a lot of spinning our wheels with the GIS data and all that. We were gonna catalog the trees and then catalog the invasives and send somebody in there with a sprayer, you know, or however to eradicate the invasives. I don't know, to Bonnie's point, what is our role, if any, do we step over the committee at the natural area, or is it's the directive has to come from them, right?
It's beneficial redundancies, and while the advisory committee has a role, so does shade tree, so does the environmental commission. Those are all, you have overlapping areas of concern, and that's.
Right.
That's
The point of the coalition.
the reason for
But
the
my,
coalition.
right, the coalition, but again, back to my point, the DPW has to eventually do the work, unless there's volunteers to do it, that's fine also.
Some of it is beyond the DPW. The
But then,
issue.
so you have to hire
Like tree companies.
Yeah, for example, the issue of the invasives has gotten so far out of our reach that any deferred maintenance that
no different
accumulates
than a
over
pond, we have
a
that.
decade requires an intervention level, which is an emergency. It's an intervention. So the cost is higher, the professionals are needed on the job.
Sure, right.
So, but once we get it under control, the idea is then we follow up with the maintenance plan. It's part of the way the department functions. So
And isn't that what we did on the corner of McCarter Park by the baseball field? At that point, they cut down all those trees and then they replanted or a lot of the underbrush. They did like, I don't know if that was DPW, that was maybe an outside, but they cleared that
It
whole
was
area.
outside, yeah, so,
And
so
then they
then,
planted pines and other hollies and natives.
so all these directives would come from this coalition, let's, lack of a better term.
well,
From the shade tree, the natural area committee, somebody from this commission to say, okay, here's a list of deferred, here's a list of things that have not been done, that needs to be done, so they have to take an assessment of each area, and then prioritize it, but it's up to the council on how they can allocate the resources, whether DPW can handle it, and you would talk to Rich and Nick, and then they would say no, then you would have to go out to bid. So it's, to Bonnie's point, it's not something that I'm just, that we can just go out with a pick and a shovel and take care of it. But I'm 100% in agreement to the point where we should not take on more property that we would have to maintain and do right away because of, and I can talk about 21 Fairhaven Road, I'm not going to. Real quick, the reason I rolled my eyes and said that, Bonnie, was the bunker died because of the Vibrio virus. It was non-environmental. That's all that's what I was getting at.
If Fairhaven were a company, Bonnie, if Fairhaven were a company, and I were running the company, I know I would be looking to the DPW in the proposed budget for the monies that were required for the maintenance of the public lands.
100%, that's what I'm getting at.
100%, period.
Right.
I mean, it's very clear cut. And
thank you, Ralph.
That was my point, is that it should be on the back of the DPW.
So I guess if I just make one more, it is very confusing. And honestly, that pathway that leads from 3rd Street into Fairhaven Fields, where I'm talking about the brush depot is up on the hill and the vines fall down from that. And a big area has been cleaned out. Trees have been planted by the Eagle Scout project, and they are planning, another Eagle Scout wants to get involved and plant more trees, which would be great. It's wonderful. And actually I was talking to Mark about a project to take the leaves that are collected on the curbside and dump them there as compost, because the soil is awful there because it's been covered in vines. And it would, we wouldn't have to dispose of the leaves and they would add to the soil health.
I
And we
know the
might-
DPW had been there, done that a few times. I don't recall, we'd have to get a schedule from Rich the last time they went in there. But I know they had been in there a couple of times within the last decade, let's say.
Well, okay, well, I think it might be a yearly thing that we need to look at it, but I think it's rec that oversees that pathway. It would appear to be a natural area, but it's not part of the natural area. It is a wasteland. It's no man's land. Nobody's paid attention because nobody really knows who's in charge of it. So I would just ask you to get involved and maybe do this coalition that Tracy's, I think it's a wonderful idea to get the environmental groups, the commissions, the committees together and push for us to maintain these beautiful parts of our town that are not going to be beautiful unless we start working really hard. And we do need outside help. And there are grants out there. And we need volunteers. It's all together.
It falls on the shoulders of the governing body, which is council. And then falls on the DPW shoulders to the point where Rich throws up his hands and said, we have to hire outside people. It's not, I don't think it comes from the commission. It has to come
Well, let me
from
just
the
stop you there for a
administration
moment, Brian.
to look.
So for example, the Environmental Commission has a role, and you asked earlier, what is the role of the Environmental Commission? And you're the commission that is given special authority and powers under the state statute to, and you were formed specifically for the purpose of, this was the first order of business, really, the inventory and catalog of the open space, the waterways, the preservation topics, the habitat, natural. And you can build on this. This is the basis by which you formulate recommendations. Those recommendations go to the governing body. That is how the governing body knows how to prioritize, whether it's DPW dollars or professional services. They rely on this body for that kind of recommendation. That's the nature of, that's the central role of a commission and the reason that it's formed. Under this
But as I
form of
was
government.
finishing was that it's a mile square town. Most people on the governing body know the area is a concern. And I think it should be up to them to say, hey, guys, we gotta come together, we gotta fix Robar Park. Yes, we're gonna come with a plan for a living shoreline, which is in the works, but I think at some point, the council has to say, look, we're gonna take $100,000, whatever that number is, doesn't matter. And this goes to the DPW's budget just to take care of trails, maintenance, pond, whatever it is. And they know what has to be done. Rich knows what, and Nick, all these guys know what has to be done. And we can sit here and say, okay, there's invasive species all over the place, clean them up. But until the town steps up and does it,
They haven't been
we
doing
can
it.
make, they haven't been doing it.
They haven't been doing it.
They haven't been doing
And
it.
so what I'm hearing Tracy say is, look, there is a Fairhaven Environmental Commission that should certainly be giving some guidance at this point.
Just make a list, I mean, it's easy to do.
In the absence of normal maintenance.
That's fine, yes.
Right.
And remember, what you sent to council in writing is based on your plans, and then those recommendations help provide the basis for grant applications. This is the way it works. I'm not making this up. We can't just say, Brian, well, we all know what to do, let's get it done. Because
Well,
we
you
can't
have to do a
afford
point
to.
because otherwise it costs you a
Right.
lot more money and time and effort,
But this,
which is what we're up against every time we talk.
but this is
So
the
you
stuff too,
realize
though,
that.
if we've had a plan and you have it all ready and we're prepared for this, I just mentioned her, this is the stuff that the ANJAC grant was all about too.
Right.
This is cleaning up open space areas, getting rid of invasives.
Mhm.
And if we have it already planned
Mhm.
out and we have our kind of story and narrative, then we can just easily kind of apply for this and be like, all right, well, here's another $1,500 that we'll just add or contribute to the cause.
Can I, but I think, I guess Brian's point is also that, isn't this stuff that should be on our like yearly plan anyway? Like, shouldn't we know that Shrinker's Pond needs to be cleaned every
Absolutely.
week or whatever, you know, so
Absolutely.
why is that not
Yeah.
on our?
No different than the garbage has to be taken out of it. It's
Exactly.
the same thing. So my point is that we could do this time and time again, but until the town agrees to do it and does it,
Like it's on their
it doesn't
schedule.
matter.
Yeah.
It's all a waste of time. We've done it for years and they know it.
Because also Shrinker's Pond isn't under natural fields, I don't think, is that under?
McCarter's.
Are you talking about-
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking about like the
McCarter.
area he was talking about when,
And
Oh,
talk
sure.
about-
Oh, the entrance I shrank.
like, I don't even know who that falls under.
You guys.
It falls under the town.
Anything,
Yes,
but I mean,
the
like, in
Environmental
terms of-
Commission has purview over the entire.
But if Rich drives around town or Nick drives around town, they'll know right away, just like we're laymen for the most part. We're not professionals in any of this. You are,
We might need to hire people.
but no, not to sit there and say, wow, look at all these weeds, right? Or the grass has to be mowed at Fairhaven Fields. I mean, it's just constant. It's no different than mowing the lawn at Fairhaven Fields. It's constant maintenance that the town doesn't do and hasn't done.
I happen to agree with you.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
So for us to make a list, you're making a list that already exists.
But no, but maybe that's
We
the
need
point.
to
though.
get
What
routine,
about-
and I
As
think
long,
every week.
it's only as good as the people that are going to see it through. If Teresa and the team said, okay, we can allocate and they'll know this amount of time, this amount of budget, here's what we can do on your list this year. Well, that, and then next year,
But then
here's what we can do.
We'll have we'll have a list going,
Right.
and then every year, like, here we go, here's the same list again. Here, what can we
That's
do?
my point.
What can we do?
That's my point.
That's the thing.
And why haven't,
And that's why it
hasn't
doesn't make
stuff gotten done the year before?
We can make lists forever until somebody does it and completes it.
But I think
It's just a
we
list.
have Tracy, I mean.
Make a list.
She's
We
quite
try to
interesting
make
counsel and-
exceptions of
yeah.
routine work.
It's routine
And
maintenance
that's
that
not
has
the
to
way
be
it
done
should
every
be
year.
done.
But we make that, maybe we
Cut and
make
dry.
that
We want to
very.
put the pond, we can start doing this with the maintenance.
There you
people.
go.
So
Exactly.
that's the whole point.
We didn't win yet.
Well, I think we're there, but,
We'll see.
I mean, it only took 10 years for the fund, right?
Or more, right?
I'm
So,
Okay, well, it's,
yeah,
we've had a good meeting.
Yeah.
There is another public comment. Bonnie, were you done with yours?
No, I dare not ask something else, although I'm like, because everybody wants to shut down, but I just,
Go for it.
one tiny little question. What engineering does Rich have to do at William Albert Roberts Park? So wait a second, Brian, Tim Dillingham.
try to listen, I.
Tim Dillingham
forward.
did a presentation of that shoreline at a big national conference for the Garden Club of America. It sounds like he has a total plan ready, and it's, have you walked it? I mean, it's not a big space. I don't know, what are they adding, rocks? What are they adding, just grasses? I mean, reinforcing the shoreline. I mean, they will lose trees if they don't do something, but it just doesn't seem like a big deal, expensive project to me. Am I
Thank you.
not looking at it right?
Thank you. No, you're looking at it 100% right. But again, it goes back to kicking the can down the road. I proposed it with the Little Society. We sat in a meeting in Teresa's office. The plan was put together. The last I talked to, unless they're playing ping pong with it, is the Little Society was waiting for an update. It had to be revised from Rich because he's the engineer on the project. And then it would move forward. And as of right now,
Nothing's happened.
nothing's happened. So it hasn't happened since we took over Robards Park. Let's call it 6-7 years ago, whenever those emails, 2015, I think it was, those emails go back to. And it was to give you the scope of the project. It was using old rope that was going to be bound together as a natural shoreline, and that would hold the bank back, which we've lost a lot of our, at the end of the day, all we own is dirt. And that has washed away significantly. And I tried to stop that, but again, it's another project that has turned into now a bigger project because we didn't do it sooner. And I think the number was like 20 grand or something silly, 25 grand. And so by putting the rope in and shoring up the bank and then planting native species along that shoreline to help also retain the dirt with the longer, deeper root systems of those plants, that was the whole plan. And I will confirm it, that again, it was a project that's began and ended at the borough level.
So you have it now. And now you can write your position.
I will consult with my partner in crime. Yeah,
Write it
but
up.
that's the whole background of that one.
All right, Stephanie, I'm gonna bring you over. Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Stephanie Adams, 230 Oxford Avenue. I can't explain the amount of anxiety that I suffer every time I'm the last person to ask a question.
Don't.
I'm like sitting here and I'm chewing through my nails. So
Don't do that.
I know everyone's hungry. So
No.
real quick, yeah, Brian needs a steak. Really
No,
quick.
I'm good. It's.
On the film series, I know I've mentioned this before, but if anyone has not seen it, Kiss the Ground is an amazing film. It's about regenerative farming, generating the topsoil in this country. It's an incredibly hopeful, optimistic film. It's wonderful. There is an educational version of it available free to schools. It's 45 minutes, so that might be something that we could even do with the kids, have a movie night this summer, and show the redacted version of that film. My question, it's so not exciting and I apologize, but I brought this up in the past. I'm just wondering what the if there is a status on recycling bins for River Road. I know this is a DPW council. I've brought it up to the borough. And I'm just wondering if the Environmental Commission is interested in this issue and would like to kind of advocate. I just feel like it's a huge shame that there are no recycling bins on River Road right now, particularly near some of the food businesses. And so all of those plastic, all that plastic is ending up in the waste stream. So I just wanted to bring that, see if there was any interest or any updates. If not,
I think I can speak from the EC, and correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody's against it. Tracy, you have our permission and our blessing to go to the council and ask for a couple of recycling cans to be dropped off around Lupo, around Husker
So you
and
might,
Acme.
And who's gonna
Like-
pick them up?
Well,
They'll pick them up in recycling day.
but like places like Red Bank, they have those the same banister.
They do.
Trash on one.
Problem
side,
is
recycling
everything
on the
goes
other.
in one.
Yeah.
And we don't have them.
Yeah.
DPW has the cans.
they have, well, right now they have all those decorative garbage cans and planters. So I don't imagine.
Right.
A decorative. one.
No, but-
So what do
Would
you
want
want
to
like
replace
I'm just, I think,
We need
I
to
think if we
recycle.
do it real quick, if it's something that can be done tomorrow, just like I've done at the Fairhaven Dock, because there's no garbage cans there either, and they rotate them, is just have a couple of blue cans for now, which would suffice, and then
More
maybe
decorative.
get something that's a little bit more tasteful or decorative or whatever. The problem with the decorative stuff is like the planters, the one in front of my office fills up, it's a planter, but it fills up with garbage.
Oh, well, do that
So,
both sides.
and they all do, and they're very shallow, and then it blows all over the street, goes in our river.
Yeah.
So, can we agree to have some blue cans put around at the key spots, and Tracy can go to,
so
DPW?
this is the kind of thing you do want to put in writing. You want to put it in writing.
Okay.
And I will take it to the engineering and DPW meeting, because that's where it will get first, because it's gonna turn into a PO and it's gonna have to get on the street and be identified. I don't know if it's gonna be a blue can. That's not really what you want, right?
Well,
We're
I
talking
just
about impertinence.
Was just doing it quicker, later, sooner than later, because school's out in a few weeks.
Yeah, for sale on
And-
Amazon. You
and-
can buy these bloody
Well,
But
things
we have to write a letter
for
for it.
about $100.
We have to
No,
write a
it's
And
letter.
so
not
to
kids'
that-
government. What can I say?
Well,
to
no,
that
I can
point,
send an email. So we did at the dock, and it was done next week.
Well, why did you do that?
Hey,
You're
to
the
that
council.
point, you can buy commercial recycling bins. I know the brand that's used right now is Urbanscape. You could get the matching ones, but you could get something similar at the Webstrot store. And once again, Monmouth International, we have an account with them. So if it was something that the town was interested in doing, we'd be happy to get them at cost for the town, the way we did with the bottle filling station. So just if that's any kind of an incentive, throw that in there.
That's great.
Thank you so
I
much.
will personally write the letter to Teresa Ryan.
But
I'm
we
not,
also
okay,
have to-
I'm not
We
allowed to-
also have to make sure though that it is,
And to
because
Tracy.
I've seen them collect at community center fields and they throw them all in the
All-
same.
They don't
They
do,
do.
they
They
do.
throw them all in the
But
same
that's
night.
mostly 10% of what's put in recycle is recycled.
I know,
That's a whole nother
but,
issue for another night.
okay,
Listen, wanna go?
another night,
Right.
sure.
Wanna
Right.
go?
It's a
Thank you.
problem. It's a
It's a
huge
problem, it's a,
It is. The whole recycling thing is
Thanks,
unfortunately.
Steph.
thank you, Steph.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Steph.
you.
Sorry for the anxiety.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to
I'll go
Christy
fix your
Larson about that
fingernails.
one.
I'll send over a manicurist and some Xanax.
He'll do it for you.
I will. Come to proper policy. I have an appointment next week for my toe.
Oh, okay, before we get into hysterics.
Do we have anybody else?
The
There are no
meeting,
further.
the meeting is closed.
All right, thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. All right.
Thank you all.
What was your comment that you said about some of the reusable stuff from Club Warrior the day?
Um,
Like the posters and
oh,
other things?
yeah.
What are your
I would
thoughts?
like, having seen what we've seen.
Jesse, I'm sorry.
I'd like to see
Will you
more of
send me
that.